afternoon. Today's Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, and we're here for a regular scheduled town board meeting. And as always, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Frank, can you please take the lead?
Love to. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. And Frank, do we have someone from our faith community?
Yes, I
today?
saw him in the hallway, so I'm sure he's here. Lieutenant Admire Togara, Corps Officer and Pastor of the Salvation Army Riverhead Corps. Thank you, Lieutenant, for being here with us today.
Okay, where is he, Lieutenant? Oh,
There he is.
good afternoon. Welcome.
Let us all pray.
Lieutenant, just bring the mic to your.
Let us pray. God of heaven, we thank you for this day and for the gift of life. We ask your blessings on the people who have been called to lead this community in which we live, work, and pray. God, grant them the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and what is good and true. May they speak out when it is time to speak out and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May they always be guided by the spirit of the community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. Remind us, Almighty God, that no matter where we live, everyone is our neighbor, our sibling, and that throughout the ages you have called out and appointed leaders to respect and protect the leaders, and to protect the least of those among us and the interests of our community. We pray this in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good, right, and true. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Lieutenant. All right, we have two announcements today. First, a reminder that the town of Riverhead will be holding a public workshop on its comprehensive plan update on Saturday, April 22, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Suffolk Theater. Residents, business owners, property owners, and other interested parties are encouraged to attend to share their ideas about how Riverhead should shape its long-range blueprint. Your feedback and your participation is critical to the success of this comprehensive plan update, and we encourage all of you to please attend. You can also visit the Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Plan Update.com for additional information, and all the meetings and the progress and any reports will be put up on the website as they occur. So if you need to keep abreast of what's going on with the comprehensive plan, please visit our website. This week begins the Holy Week for Passover and Easter. On behalf of the town board and myself, we wish all the employees and the residents and visitors and guests of the town of Riverhead a wonderful and joyous week with your family and with your friends, and please be safe. All right, moving forward, do we have any minutes to approve this afternoon, Diane?
No.
I think Bob just wanted
Okay.
to make one.
Okay, so before we do that, sorry, Bob?
Yeah.
Bob has an announcement?
Yeah, the Recreation Department is hosting what they call, it's a Repair Cafe on June 3rd, 1 to 4 p.m. at the Recreation Senior Building on 60 Shade Tree Lane. So you're encouraged to bring things that are broken there. And what happens is people volunteer and they'll fix it, and they're also looking for volunteer repair coaches. So who will help you fix your broken items instead of throwing it out. Thank you.
Do they do farmer vehicles?
I don't know.
I don't think so, right?
Just bring it and see what happens.
Transmissions?
Yeah, transmissions, bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your jet's broken, fly it in.
Okay, so moving forward, we have no, Diane, do we have any communications?
Yes, we certainly do. There was a letter from Paulette Orlando with comments on the zero tolerance zones. Barbara Blast sent a letter with comments on a neg deck determination on battery energy storage system. Frederick Oresta sent a letter of opposition to the battery energy storage system. I had 4 letters in opposition to the Demond Estate. That's the Jamesport Manor. Do you want me to read the names?
Yes.
Sure. Dawn Fulcher DeVito and Larry DeVito, Daniel Gontcharenko and John Dadion, Jesse Bonfeld and Margot LeBeau, and Robert Skinner. Then there were 3 letters regarding, in opposition to the Cider House. Carol Lorenz, Ria and Joseph Turpiano, Paul Spina. And then there were 2 letters in favor of the Cider House, Eugene Frohnhofer and Susan Frohnhofer. Since I put out the agenda, I have gotten other correspondence. There were 3 more letters in opposition to the Cider House, and also 3 more letters in opposition to the Demond Estate. Also, you want me to read those names too?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay, and then another letter, a letter from Kathleen McGraw in regard to the battery energy storage system. A letter from Peter Danowski with regard to the special permit of 644 Roanoke Avenue. And then there was also a letter from Felicia Scacosa and Isabella Marcucci from CAP, and that was regarding cannabis. And that's all I have for correspondence. And under reports, the building department submitted their March monthly report, $173,025. Tax receiver total tax collection to date as of March 28th, $95,423,089.13. Town clerk March monthly report, $16,428.12. The Riverhead IDA and Riverhead IDA Economic Job Development Corp. sent in their 2002 financial statements. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Diane. We're now going to begin the public portion of this meeting today. The first meeting was scheduled for 2 o'clock. The time now is I see a little bit of lighting, 2:14, is it? There's lighting right there where I'm looking, that's great. So we're going to say 2:14. And we're going to open up this public hearing for consideration of a proposed special permit application for Jamesport Manor, Diamond Estate, for an addition to an existing restaurant. However, since it was noticed, there was some indicator that we're going to adjourn this public hearing into June 6th, but we're going to leave it open for written comments at the town clerk's office until June 6th at 4:30 p.m. Planner Matt Charters, he's here today to elaborate on this new finding. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Finally getting this mic right. So as the supervisor said, we do have an application for a special permit for Jamesport Manor Inn, also known as the Diamond Estate. They are proposing about a 6,000 square foot dining and catering room addition to an existing restaurant. This will include a proposed covered patio and uncovered patio areas, a 542 square foot breezeway, 53 proposed new parking stalls, and 21 land-banked parking stalls, with other related site improvements pursuant to Town Code 301-222A, which is the provision for an expansion of a non-conforming use. The subject property, this is at 370 Manor Lane in Jamesport. It's approximately 3.13 acres located within the APZ zoning use district. Surrounding properties are really residential in nature or in ag production. The applicant did submit a site plan prepared by Young Associates dated December 6, 2022. That was last revised February 17, 2023, which if the board can see is behind them on the easel. It's also available online. I did share with the town board a memo regarding SECR on this project. We're still missing several outstanding items that we need to conduct our SECR review. As you may be aware, this is the type 1 action as it involves more than 50 parking spaces, and because it's the commercial expansion of a non-conforming use. So what we still need are building elevation and floor plans prepared by a licensed design professional, which identify all building materials as well as identifies the occupancy of the existing restaurant, as well as the proposed addition. a sound study which analyzes existing conditions at the subject property and analyzes sound pressure levels that will result as part of the proposed expansion of the associated use, and identifies any mitigation measures that they would need for sound, as well as a traffic impact statement. So planning's recommendation is that we do open the public hearing today, leave it open for public comments, but adjourn it to June 6th, so the applicant can submit this information, we can analyze it, refer it out, and do secra. I do have Charles Cuddy here, he's the applicant's representative who want to speak to it, and then we can open it to the floor for any public comment. Any questions for me?
I'm good. Anyone from the board? Ever fire?
Is he going to go into depth with the project itself?
A little bit, he'll give a summary of what they're doing, and then we'll have a public speak. Yeah.
Then I have questions.
Sure.
I'll let him go ahead first.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the Town Board. I'm Charles Cuddy. I have an office at 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead, New York, and I represent the applicant. It's Carr McVeigh. This site is Jamesport Manor, which is 307 Manor Lane, Jamesport. It's in the APZ district. And what we're doing today is based on a standstill agreement because there's litigation from both the town and the applicant. And the ability to come here today is based upon an agreement called the standstill agreement to let us go through the hearing for the special permit. I have with me today Doug Adams, who's from Young & Young, a professional engineer. I have a traffic advisor, Stephen Schneider, who's an engineer, Rob Stromsky, who's an architect, and Sean Harkin, who is a sound expert. Each of them will talk very briefly in addition to myself. I would like to start off historically, if I may, and to give you some exhibits, but the first thing is that this is a pre-existing site, and the town has issued a pre-existing certificate, and I just want to put that in evidence, and I'll hand that up if I can to the clerk.
Thank you.
I also want to emphasize that in the town code, after hearings, both in 2004 and in 2022, there was a determination that this accessory use is a permitted accessory use. And that's the reason that we're here, because what we're doing is expanding the dining facility and the catering hall and making it a one single unit. And that's going to be shown to you in a little while by the architect. But I also would like to hand up to you both the ZBA decision from 2004 and 2022. Sorry to keep you jumping here. One of the reasons that we're here is because of sound. And as you know, this place had had a tent and produced a considerable amount of sound. What we're trying to do, and we believe we can do, is reduce the sound to a very, very minimum. And I want to show you, and I have a picture just to remind you, that Great Rock did this very thing a number of years ago. They built an additional 6,000 square feet in their interior, and they now have very little problem because they are right on top of a large residential site. So what I'm giving you is a picture of the Great Rock building and also the entranceway, which shows a tree line about 600 feet away, and behind that tree line is an entire residential area. So I'll also hand those over to you.
Missed that one. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, I indicated that this site is in the APZ area. I want to also point out to you that a use very similar to this is from the old Entenmann site, which is now RGNY. And RGNY has at least one, if not two, large buildings that are catering buildings. And the significance of that is this is the same zone as my client is in right now. So I'm just going to give those two photos so you can have those also. Thanks.
Talking about handouts being given by,
Sit down. So it's our intention to create a building that has sound attenuation, that is to lessen the sound a great deal. We believe we can do that, and that's why we have the consultants that we do have. And I would like first to have Mr. Stromsky and Mr. Adams approach and describe to you the type of building that we're going to have.
This is RGNY, this is
Great, bro.
Great Rock, yeah.
Hi, Doug Adams, Young Associates, 400 Ostrander Avenue. Yeah, so the plan you have before you right now basically is different from the originally submitted site plan in that we combined the buildings together. I guess that was part of the understanding that we were going to be coming here before you with a building that was connected to the existing restaurant. So what you're looking at basically is a re-engineered plan from the previously engineered plan. We can accommodate the same amount of parking. Nothing changes in terms of what's required for parking because it's based on the occupancy, not the square footage of the building. The building is the same size, but the breezeway or the connection, the pedestrian cross walkway connecting the buildings would add a little bit of square footage, but again, it doesn't play into the required parking, for example. I don't anticipate any problems with satisfying any other requirements of the town in terms of the site plan process, providing landscaping, drainage, utilities for the building, or pedestrian and vehicle movement.
thank you. Sure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Robert Stromsky, Stromsky Architecture, PC,
Want to bring the mic?
the architect for the project. I reside at 44 Circle Drive in Jamesport. What we have is we have a project that's been under design consideration for some time. Another architect by the name of Bob Tast with Young Associates started the design process. Since then, he has kind of limited his practice, and I've been working with him, and at this point now, we're taking over the project to continue with what you have here. The addition to the building is in the rear of the existing facility that exists right on the main road. We have the four elevations, basically on the far left, on the top, that would be the view from the street. So you can kind of get a sense of what the addition would be behind the existing structure. So you get a sense of scale as to what this building would be in relationship to the existing facility. What we've done is we've connected the building, as Mr. Adams had stated, is that on the south area of the building, there's an existing access way to the bathrooms. That just became a logical connection for a passage corridor from the existing facility that can then go down to the new dining and catering area in the back of the building. The other connection is from the back of the kitchen, and that's going to be considered more for use of staff for running beverages and food and so forth from the existing kitchen facility into the new dining and catering area. The elevation that you see below the floor plan is basically the south-facing elevation. And as you can see, the two buildings, you kind of get another sense of scale of what the existing building is, and then with the addition. One of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the existing character of the main building to its somewhat historic nature. Obviously, we know that this building was renovated, then burnt down, and basically replaced like in kind. Even though it's not a historic building, it definitely has some historic character from trying to emulate what was there. So what we're trying to do with the addition is kind of keep that architecture to its own element and design. And then what we're trying to do is connect a corridor using the elements of the existing building, and then with the addition in the back, changing the architecture style so that it complements the existing building but doesn't really want to replicate it. We felt that that would be important to kind of keep that existing architecture to itself. Beyond that, we tried to, in the corridors, pull some of the elements from the existing building as kind of the transition piece from the existing to the addition. We have specified some materials on the plans, so we do have, that information as well. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be more discussions if this goes forward with ARB and so forth. But at this point, if anybody has any questions, be happy to answer.
Mr. Cuddy, would there be any plans for amplified music outside of this new structure if it were to be built? There would be no amplified music outside whatsoever. The music would be inside the new facility for their events that they plan on hosting.
That's correct, yes. There will be none, that's right.
And we're going to hear a little bit about the sound.
Yes,
Okay.
just a moment.
Thank you.
I'll ask Mr. Schneider to testify about the traffic situation.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Schneider. Thank you.
My name is Stephen Schneider, principal of Schneider Engineering, 43 Seacliff Avenue, Miller Place, New York, 11764. I have been to this board and many boards for the last 50-plus years, but who's counting, as they would say. Either case, I did prepare a traffic study. We have it right here. The ink is still wet, to be very honest. But I'd like to just give you a summary of it. Basically, the 6,045 additional square feet would be for different types of functions, dining, weddings, whatever. We looked at the nearest intersection, which happens to be Manor and Main Street. It's about 9/10 of a mile to the south of the facility. We used, of course, industry-wide standards throughout the report in all aspects. We did take traffic counts at this intersection on purposely a Friday night and a Saturday night from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock, which might be the peak hour for this type of facility, depending on what they're going to have there. We also included all of the traffic that would be generated by the site to that one intersection to make it, to be more conservative, just to be a little careful. I know they could go to Sound Avenue, et cetera, but we'll just assume worst-case scenario, they're all going to this one intersection. It's, of course, a stop intersection, a T intersection, as I'm sure you may know. We did add, because we did it in March, we actually did it, I should tell you that, March 17th, which was a Friday, and March 18th, which is a Saturday, again from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We did add the seasonal variations for that because obviously take it in March versus taking it in July or August, the numbers are going to be somewhat different. We also had a conversation with the town of Riverhead's planning department to find out if there are any other developments that were in the area that might affect that intersection, and they told me that there were none that they were aware of as of this point. So we did not have to include any possible future possible developments down the line. We did use what was called an annual growth factor, basically adding a growth factor based on New York State DOT's charts that we have, and it was about, for example, 0.47% per year. So we added that to the numbers to get us from 2023 to the, we call the build-out year 2025. We usually use 2 years for a build-out year. We performed a highway capacity analysis at that intersection. basically giving a grade, like a grade on a test that you may have in school. A, it's wonderful, everybody could drive anywhere they want, anytime they want. F, it's not too good, it's really bad, it's really backed up. So it's called a high capacity analysis with what's called that level of service, A through F. And we added the counts that we took in 2023. We went into what's called the no-build future 2025 year, based on the growth factor, based on the seasonal factors as well, to make sure that we did look at the summer months. And we came up with a level of service on all aspects except for one, of a B before and a B level of service with everything in place, including the new development. The only one that reduced slightly was on a Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. It went down by a delay time of 3 seconds additional. So really, it's pretty minimal. But it did go from a B to a C in that one case. I will mention that. I don't see any problems with this development based on traffic safety issues or traffic engineering at that one intersection. That's my...
I have some questions for you.
Sure.
Did you do a traffic study? What did you think that it's most busy in July and August? That's what you think is the peak season?
That's what it shows in the New York State DOT seasonal factors.
I'm asking you as an expert on here.
Yes, the answer is yes.
I would disagree. I would think about October on our east end of Long Island is the worst time of traffic out here, and I would have liked to have seen a study done in October. That's when our Sound Avenue and our roads heading east tend to shut down.
Yeah, but that's during the day, not in the evening.
You don't do weddings? This is going to be closed during the day?
I don't do weddings at all. I'm finished with that.
This project, is it shut, I'm asking you, this project, is it going to be closed during the day? Is that what you're stating?
Not to
to
my
us?
understanding,
So
no.
the study should include the day then, don't you think? You're going to have weddings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
That's
Possibly, right? The next question is I'd have to ask is that, so you did a traffic study, but did you do it 2 years ago when there was a tent up and when you had the weddings going on and you could see the volume of cars going in and out of the complex? So was there any study done while it was actually activated and being utilized as a catering hall?
I did not.
So that would be interesting to have those numbers as well.
It's pretty impossible, though, but
Well, it was been in a planning process for how many years? I think it should have been done then.
I'm
But
sorry.
okay, just trying to understand the project better.
Okay. Any other questions?
Anyone from the audience? Are we done with?
Here's one more, I
We still
think.
have you? One more, you're just popping those inclusions, so what do you have now? Thank you. So,
Sound
Devin
expert.
will have some of this stuff when it's done to go up online, please.
Going to have Sean Harkin, who is a sound expert, testify.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Sean Harkin. I'm a senior acoustic consultant at SoundSense LLC. We have offices at 39 Industrial Road in Waynescott. We've been engaged by the applicant to prepare a noise impact study pursuant to SECRA for the expanded restaurant section. I want to note for the prior question to the traffic consultant, we did work with the applicant in the fall of 2021 when there were outdoor weddings to complete a noise mitigation plan for the outdoor weddings. That was not implemented. Weddings were then discontinued at the property at that point, but we do have reference data of an event at the property during that time. I know that Mr. Cuddy as well. I have a memo that was provided for the applicant on March 28th. The memo discusses the methods that will be used for the SECRA analysis. The SECRA analysis has yet to be completed, so I do not have any results, but the SECRA analysis will be completed and will determine impact relative to New York State DEC criteria, as well as with the goal of ensuring that mitigation measures allow for full compliance with the Town of Riverhead noise ordinance. I can speak a little bit generally about the project. Bringing events to within a building, even without general acoustic treatments or specific acoustic treatments, would be expected to reduce the noise levels that would be heard at the neighbors. We're going to do a lot of analysis, especially on the building facade. We have to ensure that the sound is adequately reduced by the building facade. There's going to be a number of elements that we look at in regard to the building facade, including the exterior wall composition, the glass composition, the ratio of glass to exterior wall, and we're also going to be looking at the acoustic conditions, the echo and reverberation inside the event space as well. All of these play a key factor in the sound transmission. I also want to note one other thing as well. At SoundSense, we are not just environmental consultants. We do a lot of work on what we would call architectural acoustics. That means that we work with residential, commercial, industrial clients regarding noise control within buildings and from inside buildings to out and outside to in. That means that we're intimately familiar with a lot of the architectural details here, not just from an environmental capacity. As a part of our business as well, we also have acoustic materials and installers. What that means for this project and our experience level is that I'm on construction sites at least 2 to 3 times a week, working with contractors through issues that can happen on a job site, working through these details. We know that there are certain areas where contractors and typical construction, just by virtue of not always dealing with acoustics, can fall short. We can cut those off at the pass, and we can make sure that the project is delivered to the greatest efficacy as possible with the design, because a great design ultimately does not mean anything if there are parts of the construction that can allow for sound leakage. So I'm happy to address any questions.
I have a question for you, Sean.
Yes.
Have you ever done recording studios?
Yes.
You have? Okay, so how would you treat the windows on this building or any other building that you were trying to stop the sound from going out?
There's a lot of different ways that we can do with windows. We haven't started a lot of the analysis yet, but
Okay.
there are a lot of things that can be done in regard to this. There's different laminations, different air spaces, doing a double pane, triple pane.
So with that, you mentioned when you first got up here, noise ordinances, right, within the town of Riverhead.
Yes.
It was my understanding that this would basically would not emit any sound, this building, from inside out, because that's been the problem with whether it's, with outside, the neighbors hearing sound.
Sure. Talking about the audibility portion of the...
Absolutely.
Okay. So audibility is a subjective threshold, okay? And audibility changes from person to person. We do have a way with a concrete numerical threshold that we can handle the audibility. Across different frequency bands, which sound has different frequencies, different pitches, right? Generally, you don't hear something if it's within 3 decibels of the existing sound level. To address the audibility portion, we would look to apply a criteria of within 3 decibels of the existing background sound level that would be measured.
And the reason why I ask about recording studios is because a band can be on the other side of the glass, playing really, really loud. You're in the engineer's booth, what do you hear? 0. That's where I'm going with this, so that's why I'm just curious. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sean, in terms of this particular property, obviously, if this was built in the middle of a forest somewhere, the sound wouldn't go. It would be naturally buffered. But this particular property has open vistas basically surrounding it. Depending on the direction of the wind, the weather, some nights I know we've gotten more complaints than others when the same decibel reading was on each night, but because of weather conditions and such, it varies to the residents. So how do you incorporate that particular plot of property into your findings for this as opposed to something that was built in the middle of the forest?
Sure. So I want to say, number one, unless it is truly a forest, we never account for any vegetation to deliver any type of acoustic reduction. It's not going to happen. If you play golf, you can aim at the tree once in a while because it's 90% air. So sound travels still very well through, unless you have about 200 feet of dense foliage. Okay. Number two, sorry. So as far as that goes, yes. And sorry, I blanked on the second part of the question then. So there was the forest portion, and then you were saying?
And the weather
And the weather and the
yeah,
wind.
and the weather and how it affects. Wind will carry sound,
Right.
obviously.
So the wind can definitely have an
right.
impact. As far as that goes, it is not standard to include a factor for wind. I will say we typically use a safety factor in a lot of our calculations because of other environmental factors like wind that can have an impact, to make sure that we have some buffer room if the noise is being propagated a bit further by wind.
You're comfortable in your report, which I just got, I obviously haven't read, that if this building is constructed properly with sound mitigation, that the neighbors would be alleviated from hearing a band playing at a wedding and a DJ on a microphone?
Yeah, I mean, I'll generally say we can never guarantee inaudibility, right? Again, partially because it's that subjective threshold, but what we will do is, certainly when we do the SECRA analysis, and I know that there are a lot of things that can be done for this, we're going to look to achieve that objective criteria that would stand in place for the audibility portion.
I'm just going to segue off of what Tim said about the general area. It's all farmland, it's APZ. I own a parcel of property in that area. My sod is not going to get in the way of any noise that's emitted. But even more than that, and I understand what you're saying about trees and densely forested areas, there's no opportunity in this area, for the most part, for even any other construction or housing, because it's all been preserved. So even if that were somewhere down the road, there was an opportunity for housing developments around the area that might mitigate it. That's not the case in this area.
We're not going to assume
Okay.
anything either. It's,
What we're talking about here is an expansion, right? How does this play out with other areas, like the restaurant, Cuddy's, the watershed, and now they want to have catering and expand their use? They're already allowing it at nearby.
Go ahead.
Well, I have to question the whole pre-existing non-conforming side of this. To me, you have a restaurant, and if you say you want to expand your catering facilities because you own and operate a restaurant, I get that, but I would support an expansion of the cooking areas in itself as a kitchen, as a catering facility where you're going to take food and you're going to bring it to another event, another place, or where people can pick up orders and so forth for parties at home. I don't see how we're getting from a pre-existing non-conforming, small restaurant to something that is twice the size and a catering hall. I don't know how we go from restaurant to catering hall. I think it's two very different businesses, and I'm not seeing the correlation of, if the whole facility was just a larger dining area, but I don't see, and maybe Matt, you can clarify, but I'm still not seeing the connection of how we're getting from a small restaurant, a small kitchen, to a massive-sized catering hall that is twice the size in its event, and calling it pre-existing non-conforming. I'm not making the gap here.
Well, I think that's what the hearing's about. We're talking about a pre-existing site, and that's why I gave you the two decisions from the zoning board. Zoning board says that a catering hall is a permitted accessory use, not just...
But it's currently not a catering hall. It's a restaurant that you've been using catering on a tent primarily that was outside. So that's a separate use, and the tent, as we determined later on, was not.
Well, accessory uses are something in addition to the principal use. That's what it's about.
It appears to me that this is not an expansion. I think it's a change of use. So,
And that's where I'm just trying to, if it was, you know, it's like the Eastman Catering Hall, you know? I've been in Wading River for many, many years, and it opened up as a pizza place, you know? And then they converted the pizza place into it, but it didn't get to the Eastman Catering Hall today as a pre-existing non-conforming. It was like, wow, there's a whole different venue here, and there's a whole different business that we should look into, and that's what catering halls are, and I'm just not making the connection of like, you tell me you want more seating for your restaurant, okay, you need a larger kitchen because people are picking up. But adding a space, doubling the size, going into a catering facility and having weddings and so forth is very different than, you know, a small gathering in a restaurant. I plead to you again to try to make me understand that connection better. It seems like we're going from really small to really large. To me, it's like, as the supervisor said, a whole different use.
Okay, but that's what an expansion does. I mean, I recognize what you're saying, but that's exactly what we're talking about, and that's exactly what the litigation's been about
I
the
don't
last
see-
15 years.
Yeah, I just don't see that a catering hall is an expansion of a restaurant. It's a different
The
use.
zoning board has said twice.
Okay.
When it was small, and years ago, and they didn't have issues, and let me just say one more thing, that from what I understand, anything that's an accessory use, isn't it supposed to be smaller, subordinate to the actual use, not the reverse?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and Councilman Rothwell, I can speak to the ZBA decision because I have it in my file from October 14th, 2004. So the specific language here is catering is a type of restaurant use that can be a principal or accessory use, and unless specifically excluded, is a permitted use where a restaurant is permitted. So they have a catering use here. It's whether this is,
But catering, again, catering could be cooking. I can order food, go there, pick it up, take it home to my family for a birthday party. That's
I understand
catering.
exactly what you're
I
saying.
don't see, you know, a band, a dance floor, restaurant, that's not, I'm not, but this is me.
Catering and wedding venues are, in our minds, are two separate entities.
Correct, which our code does have a definition of a catering facility.
Sean, I have a question, one more question for you.
Absolutely.
So, when I asked you if you've done recording studios, you said yes, right? So, if you took this structure, whatever size, right, and just turned that into the performance space, you would hear zero sound outside, right?
We can't do that because it's not realistic with requirements for egress and requirements for ADA and everything else.
Even if there's vestibules, like between the, in egress, you know, when you're inside, you go through one door, there's a gap, and then you use the other door to get out?
And using vestibules is definitely something that we're going to be looking at when we complete the study.
So that, okay. All right, thanks.
Anyone from the public? Yep, you still here with us? With additions, handouts?
Charlie, get right in front of the microphone. so-
Sorry.
Last time I handed one, it was
All I'm
so
doing is
very
I'm
rough.
just handing this last item up because there's 18 conditions or items that the board has to consider. I've
Okay.
written them out here. I'm not going to go through them, but I'll just hand them up to you.
Okay.
And then I'll step back, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Did we want to speak on this? Mr. Cuddy, did you want to speak on this?
He said no.
Oh, is that enough? Okay. All right, well, all right, this is something that we have to digest. And I think,
That's just so you
yeah, this is not something that we are going to interpret now, thank you.
No, yeah, that's, if I understand, yeah, what Mr. Cuddy is saying, that's from the code for special permit criteria throughout the section. So that's what the board would consider when they're taking some sort of action on this application. Those are the questions, and that's it. You would obviously have to be able to answer them.
Okay, anyone from the public want to come forward? Yes, you can come forward. Good afternoon.
Hey. How are you? Do I have to raise my hand?
No. As long as you say the truth.
Yes.
Okay.
State your name and your hamlet. I'm John Sapala. I reside at 81 Jessup Avenue in Quogue. However, I'm directly affected by this application because I own all the land all the way around the Manor Inn. And this in my right hand is this is a 37 lot subdivision, approved subdivision on Manor Lane, 37 lots. Subdivision approved on Manor Lane. 37 lot subdivision approved on Manor Lane. My friend Pete Banowski remembers this.
John, can you tell us when that was approved?
In 2001, 2001. It's extinguished. I extinguished it. I had a 37 lot subdivision. There's the exhibit, anybody can look at it. And I traded it for this, a map with preserved land that some of the people here in this room helped me with and talked me into selling the development rights and getting this map instead because I felt it was more in keeping with the area. I've been in this area since 1972. I was 11 years old when my father brought me to our farm, our new farm. And this is the map now. These lots are spread out. They provide for privacy and the ability to have a house, have your dream, have the peace and quiet of what is the largest expanse of preserved land anywhere in the county. There's no other greater expanse of development rights sold land anywhere. The Matt Carr McVeigh property is right smack in the middle of that. I own the house that's 6 feet to the north, maybe even less. It's very close to the line. And there's 2 lots on there that are adjacent on the southern end, and there's 3 more lots that radiate at a distance of about 1,000 feet with no vegetation to speak of in between. Somebody here mentioned before, you need at least 200 feet of dense vegetation in order to consider it as a sound barrier. We don't have any of that. We don't have any berms anywhere in our neighborhood. We don't have sound barriers of any kind. We don't have walls. We don't even have screening hedges for sound barriers. They're not necessary. We don't have a decibel background level of 3 in our area. It's as quiet. You can hear a pin drop 100 feet away. You can, on a quiet Sunday, you can hear the railroad tracks down in South Jamesport, every little clickety-clack, like it's right inside your ear. That's how quiet it is in this area. Okay, so I'm going to try to speed this up. This is the Riverhead Town Code. It's about 2,000 words. It starts off with section 301-308, special permit, general use requirements. I'm going to skip through a lot of it and read what I felt was the important stuff. The application shall demonstrate that the specially permitted use will be in harmony and the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is located. That's 301-310A, 301-310B. The application shall demonstrate that the specially permitted use is such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. Well, that's me. I have 2 building lots right next to it and 3 more very close, plus 3 houses, so that's a total of 8 right next to on the northerly side. So, you know, would that deter somebody from building next to me? I think I'd rather have a 7-Eleven. No.
Careful what you wish
Yeah, I don't mean,
for.
I'm sorry. I apologize. The town board shall decide upon the application within 62 days of the close of the hearing. That's in here. 301-312, items to be considered by the reviewing board. The site is particularly suitable for the location of such use in the community. Again, the quietest place on the North Fork. The plot is sufficient, appropriate, and adequate for the use and the reasonably anticipated operation and expansion thereof. I would question if the lot coverage seen in these drawings exceed what would be allowed by the normal standards, which is what this is referring to, without having to go for an expanded septic system. You know, I'm sure at least there's no public sewer system there, so we'd have to go for a system that's at least $500,000 or more to accommodate the hundreds and hundreds of people that are going to come through there on a weekend. Adequate buffer yards, landscaping, walls, fences, and screening are provided where necessary to protect adjacent properties and land areas. Like I said, berms, freestanding sound barriers. With everything they've got built out there, there isn't enough room to provide any kind of sound mitigation. 301-310, application for special permit use. In addition, the applicant shall demonstrate that the specially permitted use will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is located. Wait, did I read that already? Adequate provisions be made for the collection and disposal of stormwater runoff the site and sanitary sewage, refuse, and other waste, whether liquid, solid, gaseous, or other character. I noticed that there's a service entrance right next to my residence, right up against the property line, where a dumpster truck will drive in however often it takes to get the garbage out of there, with clanging bottles from wine and beer. We hear the sound quite often. That's less than 50 feet from a residence now. The construction, installation, the operation of the proposed shell use is such that there is a need for regulating the hours, days, or similar aspects of the activity. This is going to happen Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the three most religious days of the week. Adequate provisions be made for the collection and disposal of solid waste. That's the same thing. It's mentioned again. The intensity of the proposed specially permitted use is justified in light of similar uses within the zoning district. I haven't seen that. When you read these requirements, and there's probably a few that I skipped, words like harmony, suitable, hinder, discourage, objectionable, they're in here over and over, spread throughout some 2,000 words of these requirements, making it clear this application has a recurring theme in it. Thankfully, we had several years to see firsthand what the effects to the region are. And I'm sure there's going to be arguments that, well, that was an outside tent. It goes beyond just the music. It's the cars coming in and out, the clicking of the fobs until midnight. You have people trying to find their cars. I think they're a little inebriated sometimes, and they're trying to find their cars. That goes on till 11, 12 o'clock at night. That's going to be right next to these residences, all 8 of these residences. The sound level in that area, the decibel meters that they're using are registering what they say are low levels of sound, but we have 0 sound there now. There's nothing to muffle the background sound. So words like reduced sound, diminished, you hear from, people who are, sound engineers that work on construction sites. Our beautiful farmland is no comparison. 3 decibels of existing sound level, there is no sound. I too plan to, maybe sell someday, just like my friend over there. So I recommend that I urge you not to approve this plan. I thank you for your time.
Craig, did you, can I get that thing, Justin? Did you watch the plan?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Do you want the survey?
You want to leave there?
Yeah, I mean, this way.
Yeah. Anyone else want to come forward? Hi.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Schmidt, 430 Manor Lane. My husband and I have lived and worked here for over 40 years. Approval of this special permit application will set a terrible precedent in this town. This is not an inconsequential addition, and it will turn an already non-conforming use into a much larger non-conforming use. The owners are capitalizing at the expense of the neighbor's quality of life and diminishing the value of all neighboring properties. Looking into the archives, the house that became a restaurant was closed for several years in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Being closed for this many years should have caused the pre-existing non-conforming use in this agricultural protection zone to cease. However, new owners convinced the then town zoning board to reopen the restaurant and reinstate the expired land use variance. We and other neighbors were not against the reopening of the restaurant when approached by new owner Matt Carr. However, it wasn't long after reopening the restaurant that the new owners began the applications to expand upon the non-conforming use, indicating that the restaurant wasn't viable on its own. To date, Matt Carr has been operating an on-site and off-site event catering operation from this location. Clearly, with a request for 74 parking stalls, this is without a doubt an event center looking to easily accommodate 200 or more people. Would any of you like to consistently have this many people in your neighbor's backyard weekend after weekend? In addition, this proposed expansion creates a traffic and safety issue for people and drivers and enjoying rural Manor Lane. We have been living with constant unreasonable noise from the crowds of people attending these events on this property from May through November since 2017. We have endured the loud, amplified, booming music which lasts several hours, as well as clearly overhearing the actual ceremony, together with the violins and the non-acoustic music playing during the ceremony, as well as the introduction of the bridal party, the toasts being made, the DJ yelling, "I can't hear you," and the screaming replies from the crowd as the event goes on for several hours. Even when inside our home, we cannot get away from the noise, the music, and our windows vibrating, all caused from these events. The only time the music and noise were ever turned down was when staff saw the police car coming down Manor Lane, but it returned louder than ever after the police left the premises. The Riverhead Code Enforcement Officer was at our home on different occasions, monitoring and documenting the unreasonable noise. In September 2021, recommendations that were made by the Code Enforcement Officer to Matt Carr were ignored and disregarded. Matt Carr has proven to be the worst neighbor he could be, showing no regard for complaints from neighbors made directly to him and choosing to ignore any requests or direction made from law enforcement and code enforcement. He has for several years substantially impaired the reasonable use, comfort, and enjoyment of our home, our property, and those of our other nearby neighbors. Businesses holding event catering are not content or willing to contain the event within a building. Thus, their requests for adjacent covered patios and other outdoor patio areas. These outdoor areas enable the crowd to congregate and dance outside while still hearing the music and the event going on inside the building. Speakers, microphones, and other acoustic hardware may be located within a building, but the music, noise, and vibration will be allowed to permeate to the crowds of guests located outside and ultimately to the neighboring houses. A building is not a solution. Even a soundproof building would not prevent the owners from opening doors and windows to the outdoor patio areas and ultimately closing them upon the arrival of the police responding to calls from neighbors. It is unacceptable to have this type of operation in an agricultural protection zone. In closing, we ask the town board to protect the public's welfare and to regard the right that neighboring homeowners have to enjoy their own properties. As we all know, these special permits are a town-wide issue, and we are relying upon each member of this board to give an unbiased decision. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Zaweski. I live at 15 June Run in Jamesport, and I'm here to express my concern regarding this special use permit. My home is approximately 1,500 feet due east of Diamond Estates. And for the past 5 years, excluding last year, my ability to enjoy my backyard on weekends and near weekends during the months of May through October has been taken away from me by the hosting of endless weddings and events with extremely amplified music. The owner has shown little interest in taking into consideration the impact of his events on local neighborhood and community, and has generally been nasty when attempts were made to contact the venue to ask them to please turn the volume down. The request before you is to turn an existing non-conforming use into a larger non-conforming use, and it seems to me to be asking for a reward for his bad behavior. I want to understand how granting this special permit would possibly result in the benefit to the community and the neighbors. The request for outside covered patios seems it would be a tremendous location to have happy hours and informal events that would naturally require some form of amplified sound to make the setting perfect. The town has spent millions of taxpayer money preserving this area. Allowing a very large commercial use in the middle of it is inconsistent with those objectives. The owner is local, but this approval goes with this property. And if they sell it to somebody else, then they're not going to care about what the noise is. And additionally, recognizing what a nightmare traffic is already during the fall when traversing past Manor Lane, either on Main Road or Sound Avenue, this would seem just to further result in making a bad situation worse. When will all the requests stop? Is it a hotel next? Years ago, when it was Twin Oaks, we agreed to have it go back to the pre-conforming use of a restaurant, and we're sorry we did that, because we get no use out of our property. And I really want to know, it's a dangerous precedent to allow a 300% expansion. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else want to come forward? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members. Phil Barbato, 211 Manor Lane. It'd be very difficult to expand on or approve on the information you've been given by the previous three speakers. I sit here and I think, how in the world does this even become an application? It doesn't meet the requirements of our town code. It's not even close. Why are we even considering this application? It doesn't meet the special permit requirements. It certainly doesn't meet the APZ land use requirements. Why are we here? I don't understand it, and I hope you quickly dispose of this application and make sure that it doesn't come back again. I'm one of the people that, I'm about half a mile south of this location, and I'm one of the farmers that operate a preserved farmland that actually make this site so attractive for what they're doing there. My reward is more noise, lights in the middle of the night, hearing the voices of the DJs and so on. And now you want to quadruple it in size? And as someone just asked, what happens when they want to come by and put another story on it, or another 2 stories? Are you going to allow that? Where do we say no? This is enough already. I ask you, please, don't even think about this one. This one has to go away. And another thing that occurred to me is our reward for, you want to have less noise, you have to allow us to put 3 or 4 times the building space on here, and we'll make sure there's no noise anymore. Please, let's use our common sense, let's get rid of this, and let's preserve the character of this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Yvette, thank you. I just have one photograph here. Thank you, Frank, I appreciate that, if you could put that up. Good afternoon, Frank Blangiardo.
Bring the mic down so people can.
Thank you, Bob. Frank Blangiardo, 333 and 353 Manor Lane. I've been before Phil Cardinale on this, Sean Walter, and now you, Yvette. So it's been a long ordeal, and you can see all of my neighbors are here, and I'm very lucky to have such nice neighbors. And before moving to Jamesport, 30-some-odd years ago, I was neighbors with Matt Carr down on Nassau Point. We put our kids on the bus together in kindergarten. Now they're in their 30s, God bless them. So I do know the applicant, although I don't know the latest aberration of who the applicant is, because it was Jamesport Manor and Orchard. Now it's Demon Estates. They're kind of bootstrapping in because they see the captain's house down in South Jamesport, Jedediah Hawkins, and their covered walkway which connects the barn. So they said, let's try this, and you have an application there, which the most recent sketch is from February of 2023. And as we started off tonight, they said, we're going to adjourn this to June 2nd, and I make a motion and I recommend that we adjourn this entire proceeding, because the hardworking people of Riverhead can't afford to take days off to be here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm sure many of my neighbors and fellow residents would love to be here for an evening opportunity to voice their concerns about this scar. This would be nothing more than a scar on the agricultural protection zone. So going back to 2007, we had the town board, this very town board granted an expansion to this very applicant from 80 seats to 120 seats. And there's been some kind of legal sleight of hand here, so talking about noise, but the way we regulate restaurants is with seating and parking, okay? You never know, you could have a 10-seat restaurant that make all the noise in the world and you have to close the place down. So the way we do it is with seating and parking, but we're not talking about seating and parking. And I hope that a couple of these fellas come up here and tell us just what they're assuming. How many seats are they assuming when they talk about this decibel level? How many seats are we talking about when they're talking about the traffic a 9/10 of a mile away? They don't talk about it because it's a magic trick. And Charles Cuddy is orchestrating this, and he's new to this case. Okay, so Charlie represented the seller, and I represented myself. In 2007, we went with the contract, and I paid $4,750,000 for raw land right opposite 40 acres where I reside, this restaurant. And I relied on this board's expansion from 80 to 120 seats. And Charlie was there. We did the closing. We went down and we recorded the deed together. In 2008, when I pulled the trigger, relying on the 120 seats, I said, okay, let's do this. I've been practicing out here for 35 years. I said I watched a lot of attorneys preserve their standard of living, but I said, let me preserve a farm. And I did. One house on 40 acres right next to Frank's sod farm. And everybody gets along, with one exception. I don't know why, Matt. I really don't. But everybody gets along. The new people, Terravite, Woodside Farms, the Turtle Lady, everybody gets along. And it's a great place to live, and I recommend it. However, I can't wholeheartedly recommend the town of Riverhead if you're going to let the APZ be treated like this, a doormat. I say go to Shelter Island. I say go to Southold or Southampton. Nobody's going to pull their hard-earned money and bring their family and preserve acreage, which we desperately need, because there's plenty more to preserve, if you're not going to back up the APZ. and you gotta back up the APZ. As my neighbor, Mr. Sapala, said, this is the largest swath of preserved land. It's all preserved now, and they wanna just take advantage of all our preservation efforts and all our vistas, and then on 3.1 acres, run this big catering hall. And that first illustration is how it's gonna look. They said that the top illustration is gonna be how it looks from the street. That's not correct, because Mr. Sapala has nice open fields. So when you drive down Manor Lane heading north, it's gonna look like a cruise ship. Just like that bottom elevation there. You're gonna see the whole side of that monstrosity, and that's what it's gonna be. And that's an aberration. You can't do that on 3 acres. I don't know where they're gonna put all the cars, because there is a problem with the driving and the parking and the noise. And if you look, I've made a complaint, and the lighting, this is with regard to this particular applicant, whether it's he or his son under the Demont Estates. We live in a dark skies ordinance here in Riverhead Town. He's got festival lights that are out from dusk till dawn for no reason. It just goes to show you the methodology of what his strategy is. He's got those festival lights all the way to the property line and to the street. Thousands of lights strung out that go on at dusk, and they're on till well after midnight, because I have to get to sleep, but they're on till after midnight last night. I have no understanding or reason why you would want to do that dead smack in the APZ. He's got those lights for no reason. Even when they were closed, when they were changing over from the Jamesport whatever to the new Demont Estates, for months those lights were on when they were closed. I don't know why he keeps them on, but it's in violation, and it's prima facie proof of this applicant. He doesn't need any further expansion. You see how he behaves. You have all of his neighbors here confronting him. He doesn't need a second chance or a third chance. You see the way he is. Any expansion, you'll be left with a huge scar on the APZ, and I don't know what the signs and lighting will be like after that. So that's why boards go with seating, parking, try to control the applicant with that. You never know what they're gonna do, but he's already shown what he's gonna do. So shame on you if you give him any more expansion, because he's in pure violation right now. Now let's talk about upstairs. He's not allowed to serve food upstairs. He does. Okay? So in the prior zoning board, the town board, they granted him that expansion from 80 to 120 seats, but they specifically said no dining upstairs, no expansion beyond 50 stalls for parking, and no expansion beyond 120 seats. So I don't know why this application is even being entertained. They didn't take an appeal. They didn't take an Article 78 with regard to that 2007 town board resolution. And I will follow up with a written response before June 2nd. But again, I ask that this whole matter be adjourned so that the fellow residents of Riverhead can come in and voice their concerns about this permanent scar on the APZ. Now, on Saturday, April 1st, we went from 2% to 2.5%. Okay, even though the property values have gone up, they've increased the Community Preservation Fund to 2.5%. The legislature's showing you where we're at. Don't turn a blind eye. The future is preservation, not catering hall preservation. It's open space preservation, agricultural preservation. Nobody's worried about caterers. Thank you very much.
Frank, you want this?
Okay.
I just can't get it out of my head, seeing a farmland with a cruise ship.
Right.
That'll always stay in my mind. Okay, so, anyone else? Oh, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Skinner, and I live at 14 Eileen Circle in Jamesport. I am the one who was listed under correspondence. I sent this document to you folks for consideration prior to this. It lists, for the people that are unfamiliar, this is 19 events from May to October 2021. My wife and I live at 14 Eileen Circle, which is 0.55 miles east from this project. The neighborhood that we have is an enclave of about 35 homes, and it's accessed off of Herrick's Lane, and you have correspondence from some of the folks that live between my house and Herrick's Lane. I sent this because if we experience this under the current guise, I don't know what we're going to experience when this is expanded by almost 4x. And I have to admit, there was commentary by Bonnie Schmidt that I cannot say any better. And so I am not going to even attempt it. I would just please ask that you, what she has put forth in concept of how this works, I would like to echo that. The current building, if you take away the freezers and the prep area, is approximately 2,600 square foot of what I would consider to be party footprint. Take away the walkway, you've got 5,280 square feet, which is 62 by 84 by 30 feet high, heated and cooled. This is 7,880 square feet. Mr. Rothwell, you were suggesting that this was a doubling the capacity, but if you add the covered patio is 2,250 square feet. Does that cover mean that it's enclosed? It doesn't really say on the maps that I saw on in the town clerk's office. And there's another 1,080 feet approximately of regular patio. It brings the entire thing up from 2,600 to over 11,000 square feet of potential party platform at 30 feet high on the new building. If you go down Manor Lane and you look to the left, there's that big Morton building, okay? That's a farm building, okay? This is an agricultural protection. They actually do farming there. And that building is 50 by 124 feet high. Okay, so that just gives you a visual context of how big this building is going to be, to speak to Mr. Blangiardo's assertion that it's going to be big. It's going to be big, okay? And that gives you an idea of what you'd be looking at. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to sift through some of this. I don't want to do it all because it's been done better than me. In the application, it's described to construct a barn with covered patio to host weddings, private parties, banquets, and meetings. It doesn't give anything about capacities. I did a Google search on the internet on Saturday. It says you can rent the entire building, meaning the 2,600 square feet, that has a capacity of 80. So if you 3x that, 3 times 8, that's up to 240 right off the bat. And then you're still not accounting for the patio, and also on this thing I saw on Google, there's a stable on this facility that's not mentioned that has a maximum capacity of 80. So how many people are we really talking about that's going to be coming and going in this facility if this special permit is approved? Someone on the board here asked about, or it was suggested, the timing of this. Thank you. The hours are from noon to 10 as per the application to town clerk. There was a question, will this action, either in construction or operation, bring noise above current levels? And the answer in that application was no. I ask you, if this is the criteria, then it's no. And this is the only way it's the criteria. And this is from 0.55 miles away. Now, if you think about it, from what Mr. Sapala said, yeah, I can hear train tracks at my house too, okay? So we're both hearing the same thing, except I'm a half a mile away. And this is what we've been putting up with all through 2021. Question of outdoor speakers, again, 19 events in 2021. I'm gonna skip the parking. There was mention about prior actions in 2004. And the zoning board, at that time, there was not a definition of catering, but there was a definition of catering facility. And if you know, for those who want to dive into this stuff, it's ZBA Appeal Number 0439, October '04, of page 2, Section 8, Sections I through P. It's talking about restaurants. And it's in the board's opinion that providing food to 25 or more people constitutes catering. This clearly does not take into consideration any of the ancillary effects felt by the surrounding community caused by the totality of these stage events beyond the providing of food. The restaurant use for catering is a far cry from how this building was used in 2021. Outdoor catering, DJ technology, electronic amplification was never taken into consideration. Zoning Board of 3/24/22, the applicant said that there were about 35 or so events with between 80 to 100 people at the current size back in 2021. I think that needs to be taken into consideration to see what can happen going forward. The use of this property as a basic restaurant was considered non-conforming, then how can this be anything else? What you're doing now is, the setting is not industrial, it's not commercial, it's residential APZ. The activities that I listed here, heard at 0.55 miles away from this proposal, is derogatory to the concept of agricultural preservation and protection, and further shifts the balance of agritainment to agritainment and diminishes the farming aspect. When you live in an APZ, there are certain reasonable expectations. You got farm equipment noise, farm equipment slowing down traffic, odd hours for sod to be delivered that you're not, may or may not be happy with, doesn't bother me. You've got smells, you've got livestock, it's called farming. That's what's done in an APZ zone. Visuals such as the barn that I mentioned previously, that's farming. It's in an APZ zone. This is not. Wedding receptions need to be not so much viewed as the entitled holy grail that they are. They are a business. Business is competition, bigger, more lavish, louder, more views on social media. That's what this application is about. The more requested in this application does not support what should be the spirit of an APZ, and is in direct competition with what farming is. At this point, I would just like to make a couple comments about the experts that we had earlier speak. First of all, I have a question. What goes on June 6th? Is the hearing reopened so that if people have comments, or is that just the day that the decision is going to be brought down? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, sorry, the hearing never closes.
Okay.
We're adjourning it for further hearing on June 6th.
So there will be more availability, because some of the names that you read for correspondences, they can't be here today, they work.
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, that's.
Well, they can also write.
And they did,
Yeah,
yes.
and we saw
Yes.
some of
Yep.
the correspondence,
Yep.
and
But-
that's open to the public, and we get a copy of it.
Okay, because they wanted to, you know,
And they can call us, they can email us,
good deal.
so there are other methods to communicate with the board.
Okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Schneider, traffic, to study it in March and project it to August, September, is laughable. Okay? I live off of Herrick's Lane. I have not gone to Lenny's for a pizza on Sunday in 3 years, because I can't come out of Herrick's to make a right-hand turn. You live in Miller Place, you don't know these things. I live here, I know these things. You don't. I want to get a pizza on Sunday. I now go to Sound Avenue and make a right, and I go out to Michelangelo's to get it, because I can't make the right and make that turn all the way past that intersection. It would take me 45 minutes to get to the pizza, okay? That's the reality of what goes on. And the operation of this is now no longer just going to be tent season, okay? It's going to be 12 months of the year. So you might want to consider that when you go forward. Also, Mr. Harkin said that you did your study in October of 2021, so you were present for this, okay? And when the town came across with the noise reductions that they asked for, there was never a noticeable difference at my house, okay? I don't know what they did, I don't know what kind of suggestions you made. Okay, I can vouch that it was nothing, because it did not stop. This is residential, industrial grade noise. This is industrial grade, commercial grade noise in a residential area. The questions regarding the sound going out and not having anything to buffer it with, you must be familiar with concepts of constructive wavelength, destructive wavelength. I studied that stuff with the helicopters. You're in Wayne Scott, you know. And I'm telling you, that noise comes across that field, you get the right kind of wind, you get that heavy, heavy air, September, October, and it comes right into, and it bounces off the other houses in the neighborhood, and it gets concentrated in areas. You have no idea. Okay, obviously you have no idea. But we do. In conclusion, please do not consider this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Matt, I have
Madam
a
Super-
quick question.
Sure.
What is the ratio from the actual restaurant to the expansion?
Don't know the exact square footage off the top of my head because it was
Is
not,
it double?
it's more than double,
So you're taking
comfortably more
something
than double.
that's just an accessory use, who's supposed to be smaller than...
So the applicant has submitted under, their application is to expand the dining and catering area to the existing building. I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, so you're taking more than double.
Correct.
So it's really not an accessory, and on top of that, what's gonna happen with all the restaurants nearby? They're all gonna wanna triple their size
You have
based on this application.
You have valid concerns related to this. And I think those are,
You can't start a precedence like that. I live near Jamesport, I'm always in Jamesport.
yeah, and I think these are questions you should consider when making any decision in favor or not in favor on this
And then
application.
what happens, Eric, can I ask you a question? What normally happens when you have an application, you approve this application, and then somebody applies under the same pretense? We have to accept it?
Well, okay, so you'd have to review any special permit
Yeah, right,
application that comes in that's deemed complete. This one specifically is a commercial expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming
Okay.
use.
Yeah.
Which is why it comes to the town board as a special permit consideration.
Correct.
Now, determinations that you make in the context of this, in a broader sense, the general principles, say, could be used comparatively in subsequent applications.
Right, yeah. So you're assuming if you approve this application, and every other restaurant can more than double under the same pretense, and we have to go through this whole hearing, and
This
can
one
we
does
create
have-
code
this-
to
this-
prevent this from happening again? I mean,
Should I let Mac?
oh, sorry. Right.
I mean, we're at this point now largely due to the litigation that's involved. We've been asked, we're on the time frame of a judge to make some sort of progress. That as of now is having a public hearing. There's a lot of information that we do not have to process this information, which we need before any action can be taken by this board. So that's why my recommendation is to adjourn this, leave the written comment open the entire time, and adjourn to June 5th. But if this, as was brought up by the public, if the board feels like this is more appropriate to have it at a night meeting, to afford people more of the opportunity,
Absolutely.
instead of June 5th, I would say the second meeting in June.
I personally
Diane,
think all of our hot topic public hearings need
Yeah.
to be for night meetings. It was done that way years ago.
Yeah.
Under
me see the date.
Supervisor Walter scheduled
Yeah.
them that way, so I would suggest that going forward.
So that would
Hold
be,
on a second.
Yep.
I can push for that date, so let me grab that.
I have it
Diane,
right
can
now.
you see when our next, and Devin, our next night meeting? And we can continue this public hearing, that way.
the idea was pushing out to June 6th is because there's a lot of information that has to be prepared. There's a lot of work that has to be done on our end. So the next night meeting after that, I believe, is June 20th.
June 21.
June 21?
First?
20,
All right,
it's a
so-
Wednesday meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought it'll help you, and it'll help the public, give them more time.
As
to
long as
respond.
the applicant is
Matt, can you, before you step away, do you
Yes.
have any other questions?
Absolutely.
Just want to ask, so for Matt, looking at the site plan within itself, We typically do it for downtown projects. We're requesting Riverhead Fire District to weigh in. I think I'd like to see both RVAC and I would like to see Jamesport Fire Department weigh in.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the site plan, and one of the most dangerous parts, I can tell you, is the firefighters backing fire trucks up and things like that.
Absolutely.
I just don't see the turnaround here. I see an ambulance going straight in, and with wedding receptions and other things, we have stress. Wading River responds to east wind. People have heart attacks, dancing and celebrating and so forth, and I just see an ambulance going in there, and I see what one small island is, but I don't think it's suitable for even an ambulance to make a circle and to go out of there without having to do a 12-point turn to kind of turn around, and I don't see a fire apparatus turning around either in there when you're going into a dead-end parking lot.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be addressed, and I'd like both RVAC for their ambulance responses. It looks like that there is parking all in front of where the kitchen area is, so primary, where all your cooking and gas and everything, whatever may be in there, is all blocked by parking spaces. So I have a problem with fire department apparatuses accessing the site, and I'd also like to know, when we're doubling that size, what do we have in terms of water capacity there?
And
Where's the
that's-
nearest fire hydrant?
Yeah, that's all appropriate. We don't have the substance of the application to do that yet, so that's what we,
Could never vote on it without that information.
without that information. So we would refer it, obviously, as part of SECR and as part of our referral process, because it'll be before the town board and potentially at some point before the planning board, so it would get referred out to town departments and, state.
Could you forward it to RVAC as well as?
Absolutely, yeah. So once we have,
Jamesport Fire.
once we have a substantially more complete application, that's going to be done.
Thank
So
you.
that's why we're asking for more time for the June meeting, because we don't have a lot of stuff yet.
And let them know about our new law. that they can
Absolutely.
hire other people to speak on their behalf.
Correct.
Thank you.
And we also should put it through the fire marshal's office.
Correct, yep. It always
That
goes to
would
the fire
help some
marshal,
of
yep, by
what
code.
What you're just saying. So, anyone else want to come forward in this regard? Okay,
Sure.
thank you, Matt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sean Cullen. I'm sorry, June 6th, will there be another public hearing on this, or is this it today?
I'm gonna leave it open. I'll say it at the end, June 21st at 6 o'clock.
Okay, just a couple of quick little things. That Sunday traffic that Rob Skinner was talking about, I think the whole town board knows what it's like in September, October, right till Halloween, what it's like to come back. All the people coming from Southold, heading west, get back to their homes. It's bumper to bumper, past Herrick's, out to Aldrich. So I think everybody knows it. So that's a tough thing. As far as the train system goes, I can hear the trains at my house. Can't hear them on the rail, but I can hear that toot-toot go by. And here's my public comment. John Cullen from Northville. This special permit should be denied before it even starts. Seems just about a year ago, the applicant was here looking for help from the town and quietly walked away after many residents came out and spoke against this establishment, as they did again today. I believe he had to call families that had already booked him for weddings, which he knew were not legal on his property at the Jamesport Manor. Now we have a new restaurant named the Diamond Estates, but still owned by the same family. They are asking to go from approximately 2,600 square feet to over 11,000 square feet in size. This now seems to be an event site versus a restaurant. The noise will be intolerable to the very same residents that came and spoke last year and spoke today. Please deny this special permit so that the local taxpayers can have their peace and quiet instead of out-of-towners ruining it night and day, spring, summer, fall, and winter. Thank you.
Matt, I'm sorry, can you just come up one more time? I just want to make this very clear. I just have a quick question, Matt. I appreciate it. So I think what we're dealing here is going for a change from a non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. Is that clearly?
I don't want to speak to the interpretation
Okay.
portion of the code, because that's not really my role. But this would, as it was submitted, it was for the expansion of a non-conforming use, based on other decisions. I
So
mean,
basically, you have a restaurant.
where catering
that
was
has the-
allowed, yeah.
The use, and then you're going to another non-conforming use, which is catering.
I mean, I'll leave it to the applicant to explain exactly why. I don't want to represent what they're trying to achieve here, but it's for the expansion of a non-conforming use is
Okay.
how this was.
That's the pretense that it was submitted to us.
Correct.
Okay, I get it, thank you. You're welcome.
Hello there.
Albie Schmidt, lived, farmed 44 years on Manor Lane. Sometimes we look at this piece of paper, some people look at this piece of paper and it don't look like much. But I'm going to give you a couple facts. Fact one, the square footage of this non-conforming use is the same as the Jamesport Shopping Center. Fact number two, Jamesport Shopping Center has 79 parking spots. He's asking for 74. Just so we can put this in perspective of what this project is. That's all I gotta say. His farm boy measured it off, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Anyone else want to come forward? Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Claudia Bianco, Baiting Hollow. The description of 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, from 2,000 square feet to 11,000 square feet is a distinction without a difference. It's an enormous problem now. It's going to be huge and worse. You can't do that to people who are tax-paying residents. You can't do that to an agricultural protected zone. You can't destroy this town, and that's what this will do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else want to come forward? No? The board have any comments on this?
We covered it.
Okay, so we're gonna adjourn this public hearing until June 21st. We're gonna leave it open for written comment to the town clerk's office, and that's June 21st at 6 p.m. So we'll have a evening meeting, and this public hearing is now closed.
Remains open.
Remains open.
Well, open, closed for today. But we already have the date. It's closed for today, and we already said that it's gonna remain open to the 21st at 6 p.m. So we'll see you all there then.
Supervisor, in a sense of humor, I just want to say that it was very ambitious to schedule the next public hearing at 2:10.
I think I'm gonna have to adjust the June 21st, but we're gonna have dinner first, because we're not coming home for dinner. Which is fine, because the public needs to understand, and the public needs to hear what's going on. And just give everybody a few minutes, because there's like a transition, people come in and others leaving.
All right.
You're my backyard, you better not, man. You better be Stonewall, just like it is. Okay, we're going to continue on. Our next public hearing. Okay. Where's the gavel?
Where's the gavel?
Fern, grab the gavel. Go ahead. You really want it? Yeah, give it to him. He'll love it. Who wants it? You?
Go for it. You're the boss.
Go ahead. Give it to me.
You got it.
You don't need a gavel, Gwen.
Oh, yeah. She definitely avoids projectiles. Oh, okay, can we have a quiet down, please?
It's 2:05 next week.
Oh, yeah. Our next public hearing was scheduled for 2:05, and right now it is 3:45. We're opening up a public hearing for a capital improvement of the Riverhead Water District for the Holly Tree Lane subdivision, and Frank Mancini, who's our water superintendent, is here to give us an overview of the project, and we'll move this
Hi.
hearing forward.
Good afternoon, I'm Frank from the Riverhead Water District.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. So this is this is 4 homes being built, extending a cul-de-sac. The developer is must run the water pipe to front properties. The 1-inch services will come from that. There'll be a hydrant at the end of the road so we can flush for water quality. There's no opportunity to loop this or anything like that, so the residential homes are assessed pretty high in our key money system, so each home pays $6,052 to the district for key money, and the rest of the costs are for the water main that the developer needs.
I do want to have one question, because I was involved with you in the beginning of this process, and I just was curious if you were able, or if the applicant was able to go out and, or if they chose to go out and bid it on their own.
Well, let me clarify that, because that's a good question.
Okay.
So, they don't get to, the water main becomes an asset of the Riverhead Water District.
Right.
So it has to be built out to the state purchasing requirements. So the project is going out to bid through the water district as if it were a water district project. The applicant does pay for all of that, and if they have a good relationship with a contractor and they're low bid, and they're a water main contractor with experience, there's no reason they can't low bid it and win it. But there is some misunderstanding that the applicants think that, not this particular one, but other ones think that it's like their project.
But my question is, did they go ahead and do
Yeah,
that?
they just, yes, they
Yeah,
have the
okay.
choice to either work off of our existing emergency service contract, which is very similar to the water authorities, or go out to bid. So there was a question of the cost of our one-inch services on the emergency service, so maybe they'll get it a little cheaper on the bid. I don't know. Normally, a project this small would go out on our contract, but they want to bid it. So we take their funds, we start a capital, there's already a capital budget in the works. Their money gets deposited in there, we pay for that work, we hire H2M to inspect it to make sure it's built out to all the standards we require. And if there's money left over, the applicant gets it. If there's more money, we ask them for more money. The district doesn't make a dollar off of the actual installation of the water main. We just make money selling water afterwards.
Thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anyone want to, from the public, want to come forward? Anyone from the board?
Anybody online?
You should tell me there's nobody online, right? All right, seeing no one, we're going to close this public hearing. The time now is, this is very short, 3:48.
Thank the Lord.
And very, very short, record-breaking short. And we're going to leave it open for written comments, 4:30 PM on April 14th, 2023, at the town clerk's office. Anybody else? We're good? All right, our next public hearing was scheduled for 2:10, and it is now 3:49. We're opening a public hearing for a capital improvement of the Riverhead Water District for the Printed Places subdivision. Once again, Frank Mancini is here to discuss this project with us.
Thanks for having me again. So the mechanism I just described is identical for this project, as far as the capital project, the way the project gets out to bid. This is just a little bit larger. This is a 25-lot unit off of Middle Road. This is the Printed Places, the cement house printer. So this applicant has built 2 homes in Riverhead, and this is their next business thing, to build 25 homes in a subdivision. So, we wish them the best of luck, and it's the same as I just described. It'll go out to, this one's is large, it will go out to bid.
Is it a dead end water main, or is it?
Yeah, this one is this ends up in 2 cul-de-sacs, and there wasn't an opportunity to loop it either. If there's any shot we can get to feed it redundantly, we will, but sometimes, especially on Middle Road, they kind of go up and terminate on their own. So this ends up with 2 slight cul-de-sacs. There'll be hydrants on, spaced as per the fire district and marshal's requirements, and 1 at each dead end for water quality flushing.
Thank you, Frank. And
Welcome.
anyone from the public? You'll let me know if we have someone, right?
Thanks,
Hopefully.
everyone.
Does the board want to comment on this?
The more water we can provide to people, the better. The more water we sell, the better for the water department. So it's a win-win to me.
Thanks so much.
And I love they're doing 3D printed.
It is a cool project.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be in Riverhead. It's birthed in Riverhead, and hopefully it's become something huge.
Yes. Okay, we're now going to close the public portion of this hearing. We're going to leave it open for written comments, 4:30 PM, April 14, 2023, at the town clerk's office. Our next public hearing for today was scheduled for 2:15, and the time now is 3:50. And we're opening a public hearing for the consideration of a special permit application for the 2-story re-addition at 644 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead. And Matt Charters, you're up again.
Here I am, like a bad penny, I just keep turning up. So this is for a special permit application seeking approval to construct a 2-story rear addition to a pre-existing non-conforming two-family dwelling. This is again pursuant to 301-222A. It's on a .017 acre parcel of land located at 644 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead, in the Business PB zoning use district. If you recall, Heather Trojanowski is reviewing this application. She is at the National Planning Conference, so a little kudos to her. She got a scholarship to go to that.
Did you hear from her?
Yeah, she had a great time.
She had a great time.
Yeah, it was really good.
You know, anytime you can bring somebody to training.
Absolutely.
I know it came to my attention just recently,
Yeah.
but and of course, anyone training.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go in 2018, so it's a really good thing.
Scholarship?
Scholarship, yep.
How good is that?
Yeah, it's great.
She put in for a scholarship for training in Washington.
Great.
So if that's.
Philadelphia, but yeah.
The way you should be, planning should be working, keeping
Yeah.
up with everyday activities, so good. So,
Yeah, so good stuff on this. It's a type 2 action. If you recall, this had to be rescheduled due to a posting issue. They are scheduled for the ZBA because they're expanding into a required yard. Other than that, there's really not too much. I have the applicant's representative here if the board has any questions specifically, so that's really it.
Hi, did you want to come forward? Yeah, let's see. Okay, sure, absolutely.
How are you? Kelly Bennett, 1257 Udall Road, Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
Okay.
Well, we're very happy to be before you guys. We did have a town board work session on this application. The property is located on the east side of Roanoke Avenue, about 100 feet south of Elton Lane. It is a through lot, so Elton does run along the back of that as well. My client, so I'm here on behalf of the property owner and the architect's office. We are proposing a 2-story rear addition. It is 20 foot 8 inches by 16 foot 5 inches. Total proposed square footage to add on to this, as Matt said, non-conforming two-family is approximately 678 square feet, about 330 square feet on the first floor and on the second floor. Currently, the house is very, run down. My clients are very excited to keep it in character and conformance with community and the neighborhood. However, really fix it up and make it a much better, rental for the next two families that get to live there. So this would be for the extra bedroom on the first and second floor. So each would have kitchen, living dining area, 3 bedrooms and full bath. So it's very similar to 640, I believe it's 648 Roanoke. They had done a rear addition, so it's very much in character with the neighborhood. And again, what brings us here is really the addition, any square foot that we're adding to a non-conforming pre-existing structure brings us for the special permit. And as Matt said, we do have our zoning board of appeals hearing just got scheduled for the 13th. I did actually hear, because we had a little snafu on the mailing, so the second mailing went great. I did hear back from quite a few neighbors, emailed some plans over, so just here to ease any kind of questions or concerns from the board.
How much parking do you have?
Oh, well, I could show you the site plan. It's a very long paved driveway, and it kind of Ys off toward the garage. So
Okay.
the homeowner has an Escalade. I was actually impressed with how she lived in, but if you wanted to take a look at parking, it's very wide back there.
Great, thank you.
I did take some extra pictures today,
No, no,
in the
that's
backyard,
great.
if anybody
That's
wants to see. Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sure you're all very familiar with
Yep.
it.
Okay. Anyone from the public want to come forward in this regard? Mr. Big D.
Wearing his Duke.
Yeah, wearing his t-shirt.
Duke Lacrosse. I did email the board members and the town clerk.
Name and Hamlet, please.
The town clerk has recognized my submission. And what I say in that letter is pretty simplified by saying, I always worry about wood frame construction. How many people are permitted to live in a wood frame house today? How many do live there today? And how many, if the special permit is granted, will be allowed to exist there? Simple question. Somebody will inform you of that in your review process from the building department level on state fire and building code issues. I'm a supporter of mother-daughter houses. I'm a supporter of, you get someone that's either elderly or poor, need to supplement their income with a couple of people working perhaps at a farm. Great, leave them alone, let them do that. You've had a recent event, over the last year or two, with a wood frame building, and I worry about that in the neighborhood. And that's a simple question. You can answer it after you consult with your experts. Have a good day, it's too nice outside.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
So just
Thank you.
one question on the, there's only one point of egress on the second floor?
Let me take a quick look at the plans.
I mean, that's what I see here, and I just don't know even if there's room by where the living room is for any type of small back deck, whatever, as a fire escape in any way, shape, or form. I do have concerns of one entry, one egress in and out.
Yeah, and I'm sure I could
Just-
absolutely bring that, to the architect's concern. The special permit was, I know these aren't final construction drawings for building department, submittal. It was more about the square footage that we were putting on. But we would have to comply with state code. If they need a second means of egress, we would have to find a place and relay that out and provide that.
It's just long and narrow. I mean, even on a worst-case scenario where you have your front door, I mean, instead of just the stoop over the front door, make it an outdoor deck or something, some type of access where somebody can get out of the building, even if it's on a deck or overlook or something. They do a lot in colonial-style homes. It adds a little,
Absolutely.
nice
We
feature
would
to
love
the
that.
house, but it's safety.
Absolutely. And that would be the architect's first concern as well. And I guess I should also think about if any of that impacts the request for zoning.
Because I'm just looking at your downstairs kitchen is right against your only egress in and out of the second floor. So that just seems to be, most fires start in the kitchen, so that'd be my concern.
Thank you.
You want to come forward?
You good?
Yeah, just to further the point, they'll have to meet building code and fire code as part of their building permit approval, so we can get that addressed through the process, should this be granted, or it would be a condition that they have to meet building and fire code.
Great. Anyone from the public? Okay. well- In the meantime, anyone else from the board? So we can move forward? Okay.
Philip, you're on?
Is the mic on? Looks like it's on, right?
Philip, you're on? Can you?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
a few pops came up. I've been in the house almost 2 years, 648 Roanoke. The previous owners did the audition, and just to give you a little brief rundown. And I got no problem with what they want to do. I just have couple of concerns. If there's any means, I can contact the owners if there's a problem with future tenants. And right now, the second floor tenants, they don't drive, they always get Ubered. And food deliveries or whatever comes to their place, they're always parking in my driveway because their second floor door, to the second floor apartment is closest to my driveway. And to tell you the truth, I'm sick and tired of that. And if there's any way that can be prevented in the future, I'd gladly appreciate it. That's all.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
And I've actually been in touch with Mr. Rainello. I've been in touch with him, and our owners are looking to make friends, and we've been in back and forth with email, so I'll reach out to Mr. Rainello as well.
It's always good to have good neighbors,
It
right?
really is. I'm sure it's a sigh of relief for him.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's all. I want to be one of those good neighbors. I'm very easygoing.
We really appreciate the board's time.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Anyone else? Okay, we're done with this public hearing. So we're gonna close this public hearing today. It is 4 o'clock, and we're gonna leave it open until 4:30 PM on April 14th, 2023. Okay, so what do we have? How many more we have? One more. We're on our last one, I promise. Okay, on the public hearing today, we're scheduled for 2:20. It is 4:01 in the afternoon, and we're going to open a public hearing for the consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 269 of the Riverhead Code, Town Code. An interesting topic, actually, shopping carts. And Deputy Town Attorney Danielle Hurley is here to review. I just saw you over there, you got up here pretty quickly. I had to review the matter for us, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the board. So I'm introducing a code amendment that we had a work session on. Mike Selesky from Highway spoke at that work session along with Councilman Kern. This is a resolution to address the abandoned shopping carts throughout the town and the misuse and unlawful taking of the shopping carts in the town. This has continued to grow and be a public nuisance as well as unsafe for the public, since the carts are being abandoned in the public right-of-ways, bus stops, and public roadways. So the code would require business owners along Route 58, Route 25, and Route 25A to install anti-theft wheel braking mechanisms or any other theft protection system, so to help the shopping carts from being taken by individuals and being left throughout the town for our highway department to collect.
Okay. Any member of the public want to come forward? Definitely no? Okay. We're surprised.
I just want to say before we close this that Mike Zaleski emailed the town board since the work session to tell us that he found a shopping cart as far east as Laurel Lane.
A Toys R Us
A
shopping
Toys R
cart.
Us, yeah, which was pretty amazing. I couldn't imagine how it made that little journey out that far, but.
Where has it been all these years?
Okay, so hearing from no one at this point, we are going to close this public section of the hearing, and we're going to leave it open for written comments, 4:30 p.m. on April 14th, 2023 at the town clerk's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the public portion of our meeting today. We're now going to move to public comments on any of the resolutions before us today.
Get your time
Good day again, John Cullen.
Yes, good day.
Bethel.
John, John, just raise the mic a little bit.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's the mic police.
Very concerned about
He's the mic
Well,
police.
no, I mean, people at home
Yeah.
need to hear. We can hear you, but, yeah, I'm just, you know.
I try and speak loud.
Even before I get it out, he already finished saying it.
Would you like me to start with that, Councilman, or should we wait?
No, you could,
We can wait a second.
I think he might, he probably knows what I'm going to talk about anyway, so I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to read a letter from Kathy McGraw that I received this morning. She could not make it today.
Okay.
And that is town supervisor and town board members. Once again, the town board are changing ahead of precipitously with major zoning changes before adequate vetting and input from the people of this town. At the work session last Thursday, you had the consultant for BFJ, Ms. Yackel, give an overview of her completion of parts 2 and 3 of the EAF for the generic environmental impact study for the new code provision for best facilities. But the public was unable to ask questions, and as is clear from page 6 of the questions and commentary from Barbara Blass, the former chair of the planning board, there are many questions and concerns that you, the town board, had no clue to ask about or explore with this consultant. A couple of you raised 1 or 2 questions, but a better understanding of the matter on your part would have led to a serious follow-up questions and a more in-depth look into this important matter. Notwithstanding this superficial presentation, you plan to adopt this code change today. It's irreversible and reckless to do so. It robs the people of the town of the very opportunity that you said you were going to afford us when you tabled this resolution some weeks ago. I fully understand that each facility requires a special permit specific Sikora review and site plan approval, but what about the very real issue that this code allows best facilities not only in industrial A, C, and PIP, but also the agricultural protection zone and the residential A80. Best facilities are totally out of character with the later two zoning districts. In fact, they are contrary to the purpose and intent sections of the APZ and R80 zoning districts in the town code. The zoning for best facilities is exactly the sort of thing the consultants working on the comp plan update should be studying and making recommendations on for the update. What's the point of doing the update if this code is going to be passed today? Tellingly, Ms. Yackel said in the work session that we don't know at this stage how many facilities you may get and exactly where they will go. Well, town board members, those are the very things that should be examined in the comp plan. They should not be decided today in this unexplained rush to pass this zoning change. The comp plan update is the appropriate mechanism for systematically considering the best placement for these facilities. Groundwater issues are much more too important in this town to leave sitting of these facilities to a piecemeal, project by project basis. I also note that Ms. Yackel conceded the update BFJ is doing includes looking at solar and other things along the potential revisions or amendments to the underlying industrial zones. Well, if that is true, why shouldn't the zoning for best facilities be part of that update? Not plucked out of the context right now, what on earth is the rush? You, the town board, have failed to explain any need, let alone any pervasive need, for this haste to amend the zoning code. At a minimum, table these resolutions and convene to a forum to allow for better understanding and public input. And optimally, you should step back and have this new use studied in the comp plan update. Best regards, Kathleen McGraw, Northville. I'd also just like to make a quick comment, if I may, and that is, I've always talked about the fire issues with these, and I'm not sure if anybody on the town board has read about the fire in Arizona that was spoken during the work session the other day. It was mentioned Arizona facility about 3 times during the work session. And if you don't know, the hazmat team there were 4 hazmat team members that were walking up toward this fire that has already been in progress for over 2 hours. And it's a giant container. It's not a little Tesla or anything like that. It's a giant container. And as they approached this fire, the bomb went off. These guys were sprung back like Marty McFly playing his guitar in that movie. They were picked up and sent back 65 yards or 65 feet in the air with their full hazmat gear, their face masks on, and the only reason why they stopped was because they hit the fence that was surrounding the facility. Their face masks were blown off their heads. They were all taken to the hospital. They all survived, thankfully, but that's how bad these things can be. We know that there was a Tesla fire out in Southold just recently, 6,000 gallons to put it out. That's a car battery. That's the size of 2 suitcases. Think of a container and how many gallons of water, and where is that water going to go when it gets through the fire into the groundwater, into the drinking water. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So, I just want to make a quick comment, and we'll bring her on. We do have somebody from BFJ here to answer questions. So the public will have the opportunity to engage and ask questions. And I know you made that comment in the beginning, and just so you know.
That's very good,
So
thank
we have the person here on Zoom ready to answer any questions.
And what was the date for that?
No,
Oh,
right
no.
now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just referring to the statement that you said that the public was robbed of the opportunity to ask questions. And so I'm just referring, we do have the person here, so you can ask the expert, the comp plan expert is on, our consultants are here online to answer any questions you have. So next,
Thank you.
you can.
In addition, we've already had 2 public hearings on this topic as well.
Yes.
There's no haste here, it's been in the works for 2 years.
And we also had the state here to ask questions.
Yep.
Actually, Bob was good enough to get somebody travel from Albany to come here to present to us. So, and then we had Matt Charters do the research across. We don't know what happened in Arizona, and it could have been something that was aged, that was one of the first generation, and it's not going all over. There's only 2 places, from what I understand, that battery storage can go, right? It's only 2 places in town. But anyway, you can ask all those questions. Matt, did you?
Yeah, I can speak to some of that.
Okay, then can you let him have this discussion?
Just briefly, in terms of the Arizona fire, so a lot of that had to do because it was containerized battery storage. I'm not going to say there's no more containerized battery storage, but the trend in the industry has been to move away from that, and they're now in non-occupiable equipment cabinets. And a lot of most of our New York State Fire Code arose in the Uniform Code specific to batteries because of that fire. So they learned from that fire about what to do and what not to do and how to mitigate it. And in terms of impacts to the residential zones, that is correct. In residential zones, we've identified potentially 2 parcels that meet the acreage requirement without fully looking to see if they're in any other exclusion categories. You know, they can't be in jurisdiction of wetlands, they can't have primary soils. There's a lot of exclusions that we've put to where batteries can't go. But,
Great. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Phil Barbato, Jamesport. I think it's, I can't add anything to Ms. McGraw and Mr. Cullen's comments. I think you should take them into serious consideration. I also think that it's obvious from the comments that have already been made and the questions you have asked yourselves. We're not ready to implement a code. We don't know all we need to know. And we're jumping ahead of our own compound development in order to do this. Why? What's the rush? Are there applications in front of the town board now to install a BESS facility anywhere? No, I don't think so. Let's do it the right way. Let's do it right. You don't want to be the one who has to look in the mirror when a house burns down at a site that you allowed by virtue of these resolutions.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Good afternoon.
Walter Yakubowski from Middle Island. You said there are 2 places that have applications for battery storage. Where are they?
No one said there was any application. 2 locations.
Oh,
where
2 locations.
It can possibly go.
Oh, where are the locations that they can go?
One is off of Edwards Avenue, and the other one is off of Mill Road near West Main Street.
However, this legislation
Right.
will prohibit the Mill Road
Correct.
development.
Yes.
You understand that?
Okay.
So this prevents that from taking place. It's a safety mechanism.
I can clarify once again, the 2 properties that we're talking about are the 2 residentially zoned properties where it could possibly go. It's on Tuttle's Lane, where there's an existing substation, because we did have the 1,000-foot requirement where this could go. And then on Sound Avenue, just almost on the town line, north side of the road, by the Harps property, there's a substation there as well. Again,
So it
there's,
can only go near a substation.
in residentially zoned properties, that's where the requirement is. Industrial zones do not have that requirement. They have the same exclusion requirements in terms of properties where they, they can be in wetlands jurisdictions, prime ag soils, et cetera, but the 2 residentially zoned properties are the ones I mentioned.
Okay. Anyone else want to come forward? Do we have anybody online? Okay, we have Jaco.
Why don't we wait?
She's from
Well,
BF,
everybody
she's from
call-
BFJ,
Yeah, I
so
don't
she's just a consultant. I
No,
think.
she's, yeah.
Yeah, but they're here to ask questions of everybody, so we'll let
Why
them
don't
go.
Barbara's looking to come up, why don't we have Barbara come up, and then we can have Ms. Yackel address it.
Here we go.
Barbara Blast, Jamesport. We were never afforded the opportunity to ask questions, so I'm not.
We had 2 public
asking
hearings,
questions.
Barbara.
No, I mean,
No,
at this.
comments. Yeah, comments period.
Juncture, it's not the norm. But anyway, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'm not, I thank you very much for that opportunity. I would love to have been available to have asked questions. Yes, thank you. You're right, 2 public hearings. I've submitted questions and statements back when it started in August of last year, the first public hearing, and I stand by everything that I've submitted and everything else that is part of the record, including submissions from others. So I'm not going to rehash any of that. That's not why I'm up here at the moment. I actually have a technical question on the local law itself, and it has to do with the fact that the law provides for battery energy storage to be a second use in the planned industrial park, the PIP zoning, industrial A and industrial C. You could have two uses in those zoning use districts, one being battery energy storage. So my question is, because the use has performance standards and maximum coverage, but the underlying zoning standards are different. When you say something like battery energy storage can cover 75% of the parcel, if one of our warehouse developers, as an example, has a warehouse on a 30-acre parcel and there is room, are we talking 75% of the entire parcel or that which remains undeveloped? And how is it that you wouldn't be able to buy another piece of property next to your current improved property and merge those parcels and then get 75% of even a larger parcel? I'm concerned that it is not clearly spelled out in those districts where you can have two uses on the same property. And then one follow-up question, does that mean that if it's a vacant parcel, I could come in with both uses on the same site plan? And again, you have different performance standards. One has 75%, one has 60, one has different setbacks. I just don't know how that would work, and I don't find any answers to that in the legislation itself. So those are my questions. I don't know if the consultant answers them or who answers them, but thank you for the opportunity.
I think an accessory use can't interfere with a current use. So if you have a current site plan and you have designated area for parking and other uses, and they want to put a secondary battery powered, BESS system behind a building of some sort, there has to be ample room that it doesn't interfere with the initial, the initial site plan approval and initial projects there as the secondary use. So one doesn't wash away the other. They don't complement each other.
I'm not saying it washes it away, but right now your performance standards say battery energy storage can occupy 75% of the site. And I'm only saying, and it's not as an accessory, and I understand what you mean, parking and everything else. It is a second use that's allowed on the site. It's not an accessory to that use. You're allowed as an accessory with solar facilities, but in the PIPs, Industrial C and Industrial A, it's a second standalone use. And the numbers and the requirements don't jive with each other.
It'd have to be a part of a parcel that, to be a secondary use, it'd have to be part of a current parcel or site plan that's not being used. It'd have to be, if something already is pre-existing and in a site plan, you can't interfere with that with a second.
I'm not saying that you can interfere with it, Councilman. I'm saying you build a warehouse, right? And then I want to build, I buy the neighboring property that's vacant. Now I have a much larger piece. Are you subtracting the buildable portion from that site, that new and larger site? The code is silent on that. And if you're saying, practically speaking, sure, you can't put battery where the parking is going, of course not. But we're not into that kind of analysis. You're putting charts together and you say, these are the requirements. Which side yards are you going to reflect? Which series of regulations prevail when you've got two sets that you have to deal with? And again, maybe the simple question is, on an improved parcel, are you saying 75% of the unimproved area? If that's the case, you need to say it.
Barbara, and I appreciate your comments. So, me, not the interpreter of the code, but as a primary author of this law, I would say, in terms of lot coverage, it would be, we would have a dedicated use area for battery storage, and they would be allowed to occupy 75% of that area with the setbacks for battery storage. The rest of the area would reflect the building and lot coverage of that zone. If things need to be clarified in the code, because that could be the case, we can do so. I think that's, could be considered a clarification.
Okay, should we bring up the FJ? I think, he's been on here for a while. And they can ask
She's just there to answer questions. She
nobody
doesn't need to
asked
speak if somebody had a question for her.
Yeah, nobody
Go
asked
ahead.
a question.
Okay, anyone have a question? Because we have the comprehensive plan update, one of the members here to answer any questions. Barbara, do you have any questions for her? I know, but she can ask her a question if she wants. We're affording them the opportunity to ask questions, which we were, earlier, someone said we robbed the opportunity of asking questions, so if she has a question for the persons here.
I submitted how many pages of questions prior to the last work session. Consultant had an opportunity to answer things like how many, acres are involved in each of, in the entire, the extent of it. There were many, many questions. I'm not singling any one of them out now, but there was ample opportunity to have addressed that. This is a little bit disingenuous at this point to bring it up during a comment period. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Yes, question.
What happened to your mask? Oh, okay. That's it, is that your brother? Look alike.
John A. Yakubowski Jr., 50 Service Road A, Calverton, New York. I'd just like to know what the parameters are for property to be qualified for battery storage. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer that, but Matt, since you're the primary author of the legislation, do you want to take that, or would you like me to walk through it?
He's coming up.
Matt, stop going to that corner. Just stay there.
Yeah, Matt,
I don't wanna- I don't wanna
I gotta
steal
stay
his thunder.
closer, but I don't want to get, it's very clearly spelled out in the law where this is allowed, what zones, what the setbacks are. I don't want to give you it'd be laborious to list it all out. It's been
Maybe we can
public.
get him a copy of the code so we can see
We can
the
print it out.
zones.
It's available online. That's very easy for us to do. I think that's easier than listening to me rather
Great.
ramble on if someone has, other relevant questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Is that good for you? Good. Anyone else?
Claudette Bianco, Baiting Hollow. You may not be able to answer this question, but it's my understanding, somebody mentioned before that the battery storage systems have to be near a substation. Can't LIPA build a substation wherever they want? Don't they have that authority? That you wouldn't have any say over? I mean, I don't know the particulars or the criteria for building a substation, but couldn't that happen in the future? That they would decide to build it here?
Do we have that question?
Yeah, I think I can address that. There is always the potential that LIPA could develop or build new substations. They are subject to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. The town would be an involved agency in that potential future environmental review process, so you would have a role in that decision. But yes, that is always a possibility. We don't know of any that are planned. I think if that was to become an issue, it's something the town would have to evaluate. And I think I heard someone say that this was, once the law is adopted, it's on the books forever, and that's just not the case. If there's things changing in the town, and LIPA is all of a sudden proposing all these new substations, that portion of the law can always be reevaluated if needed. But there is certainly a public process as part of that, as I understand it.
Thank you. But having a law on the books makes it easier for LIPA to decide if we need it for energy or if they need some more funds from the taxpayers. I mean, it just makes it simple for them to do this in the future. And I think you're jumping the gun. You don't know the ramifications. You don't know the impacts. You don't know a lot of things why don't you let the comp plan find out before you put up a law on the books that might have some negative potential impacts down the road?
The environmental impact study that was done and completed, and I think Sarah could justify that it was more extensive because we put it before and because we paid additional funds to get a more larger scope of things, what's happening, than a broad range for the comprehensive plan.
I
The
think
study
that's
that, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, please go ahead.
Also that, so it's more in-depth, and by us putting our local zoning and rules, regulations here, it allows us to direct the narrative of what's taking place in the town and not sit idle and wait for it to be done by the ZBA.
I know you've said that before, but I'm curious why Southold decided to put a moratorium on and not do what you chose to do. I know it's a different town and you have no influence there, but it's curious to me.
Southold is not in the middle of a comprehensive plan and didn't have, at the moment, the appropriate consultants. We don't. So we fast-tracked as far as asking them, let's look into this comprehensively. Southold would have to hire someone to just start this whole process.
That's not why they put a moratorium. They put it in response to their residents who want a moratorium, like we do. Thank you.
How are you?
Good, how are you? All right, Greg Bergman with the Planning Department. For the board's knowledge, I just want to respond to a question that was just asked regarding can LIPA basically build a substation anywhere? There is a section of our town code, it's 301-225B, which refers to public utility buildings and structures. It states that public utility buildings and structures shall be permitted in all districts when approved by special permit of the town board upon a finding by the board that adequate buffers exist to minimize impacts upon adjacent parcels and taking into account, among other things, the existing and permitted uses in the surrounding community. So there is a review. If LIPA were to come and try to establish a substation throughout the town, it would require a special permit from the town board, and the town board would have to take into account, for example, if it was in APZ or one of the resident zoning districts where a BESS system would be permitted, that's something that the board would have to take into account.
But the public hearing.
I mean, yes, it would, LIPA would have to come in and file a special permit application
Right,
with the
and
town
then
board.
we would go through the process of public hearing, so that's democracy, right? And it's not, it's gonna be
Thank you.
forwarded and, take your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara Blass again. On the LIPA issue and future substations, in their 2015 capital project expansion plan, there is a parcel identified near Doctor's Path in the APZ that they said was a site for a future facility. Yes, there's a process that you have to go to, but just so that you know that there is one that they've already designated or in the town of Riverhead that they're interested in. And I don't know if the Monroe test has to take place with something like that. That's generally whether they need site plan approval or not, I don't know, but I just figured I would let you know that there are designs in the works. Thank you.
My name's Meredith Ritter, and I live in Foxwood Village, and I just have a comment to make. I'm not an expert on any of these BESS systems. However, it feels like deja vu to me that here we are again on an afternoon town board meeting, discussing something that clearly impacts the population of Calverton and Riverhead. During a week when many people are preparing for the holiest days and holidays coming up, in the afternoon when a lot of people have to work, and once again you put on the calendar for today resolutions that we discussed at length, I think it was December 20th. There's a 241-page document attached to the agenda today to discuss all the things that are on the calendar. 241 pages. That was released sometime yesterday. I looked in the morning, it wasn't there. Finally, I got to see the agenda yesterday afternoon, perhaps. It's a lot to absorb for an average citizen, a lot to understand. I understood that extra study has been done by BFJ, that they have a lot of information to share, But once again, the general public doesn't know what's happening. They can't be here today to speak to it. And again, you just announced this comprehensive plan meeting that's going to take place on the 22nd, where BFJ will have a good opportunity to explain what they've discovered about BESS systems, where they might go, what might happen, so the general public can understand and be accepting, more accepting. We're not against saving energy and finding new ways to produce energy, but we do want to be safe and we want our community to benefit on every aspect. Why can't this be tabled until the public has a chance to listen to BFJ, hear what they discovered, hear what their study covered, and then maybe we'll all be able to applaud you in your efforts to pass these resolutions. Thank you.
Just to correct you, ma'am, last week's work session, BFJ did the presentation. That presentation has been online since last week, okay? And they're here again today to answer any questions that anybody may have. But it's not like this was just put up yesterday for the first time for the public to see it. This information has been available since at least last week. So to come up and say that you just got it this morning, that's maybe when you got it, but the town made it available last week. Just to correct your statement.
And we've had 2 public hearings.
And we've had 2
Okay.
public
And
hearings.
we also,
And that's really, the full purpose is being engaged.
we also brought an expert down from the state, from NYSERDA, who spoke all about battery storage. We had an expert from NYPD, I'm sorry, the New York Fire.
FD.
Yeah, Fire Department, who trains departments how to fight the fires. So it's not like we're taking this like it came yesterday and we want to pass it. We've done a lot of research and brought experts down here to address the public.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Good afternoon.
Hi, Sid Bale, Wading River Civic. Just a quick question. Without mentioning any names, et cetera, has the town been, or the planning department been approached by any other companies other than the 2 companies that have been identified in the paper as having an interest in this? One of the reasons that I'm asking about this is, as you know, or maybe some people don't know, New York State has has changed their target for how much battery energy storage that they hope to achieve by 2030. And they've actually doubled it. So, to think of, well, it's not that big a deal, maybe it's going to be 1 in the town of Riverhead or tops 2, right? So I was wondering whether, anyone in town government or the planning department, they're in town government also, I realize, has been approached by another company, because there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in getting one of these things started. You sign a 20-year power purchase agreement with LIPA, and that's like gold. That's why they can be so generous and helpful to the communities that they're in, right? Because they have lots of money to spread around. No one has heard of any other company?
Nobody approached me.
Nobody's approached. I can tell you this, as far as I know, Sid, and maybe you can get a report from New York State, but I just heard recently that they're starting, whoever it is, starting in Staten Island and coming out to the island. And I know Nassau County is really looking into any energy battery storage since that nuclear power plant closed on the Hudson.
Right.
So yeah, there's going to be a proliferation, all over the island. This is not,
It's all over the state.
And it's all over the state.
Yeah, and real estate in Riverhead Town compared to some other areas further west, maybe I'm being it's cheaper?
It's cheaper upstate to do it.
Yeah.
I know somebody who's doing it upstate
Yeah.
on their, you know,
But
on
in
their
terms of,
property.
relative distances and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, just gonna end our comments before the resolutions and stepping around. Oh, Diane.
Yes, I'm here.
Today's Diane's turn.
Okay.
It's a long day.
Resolution 240.
Oh, you're gonna have to hold on a minute now.
And there is quite a few of them, by the way.
Hold on, I'll get,
Yeah.
I know, mine's, there was two different files.
Capital. You want me to do it, Timmy? Water District Capital Project, number 82305, 809 West Main Street, budget adoption, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 241.
Resolution for budget correction for use of ARPA funds, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 242.
Resolution for budget adoption, CP number 72306 and CP number 72307, so moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 243.
Appoints a public safety dispatcher, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 244.
Appoints a part-time traffic control specialist, so moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 245.
Appoints a part-time traffic control specialist, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 246.
Appoints part-time traffic control specialist, so moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 247.
Appoints hearing officer and authorizes suspension of employees, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 248.
Establishes the Town of Riverhead Quality of Life Advisory Committee, appoints initial members to the Town of Riverhead Quality Life Advisory Committee, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yeah, I just want to thank the people that are on it for coming forward and offering to assist and do this. It's going to be I think it's going to be a great committee, and we can get a lot of stuff accomplished. So yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, and we have some very qualified individuals from the community, and I know, Bob, you've been working on that also, so thank you.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 249.
Ratifies execution of MOA between the Town of Riverhead and the Civil Service Employees Association, Inc., Local 1000, AFS-CME, AFL-CIO, Riverhead, Unit of the Suffolk, Local Number 852. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 250.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for 2023 concession vendors, parks and beaches, so moved.
So, second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 251.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for residential solid waste collection and disposal service for the Riverhead Refuse and Garbage District, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 252.
Authorizes the town clerk, who's going to be a very busy lady, to publish and post a notice to bidders for annual procurement contract, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 253.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish, to publish and post a notice to bidders for annual construction contract. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 254.
Awards bid for food and meat products. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 255.
Awards bid for police uniform items. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 256.
Awards, amends bid award for sewer chemicals. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 257.
Extends bid for dry hydrated lime, calcium hydroxide. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 258.
Amends Resolution 2023-221. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 259.
Approved special event chapter 255 application for the Riverhead Country Fair. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 260.
Authorizes removal of fixed assets. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 261.
Ratifies execution of a license agreement with Research Foundation of State University of New York for installation of Fish Passage camera at Grangeville Park. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
I have a question on this. Where do if you sell a car, where does the fund go?
So, I
How's
don't
that
know where
work?
the
Do you
fund goes, but,
Just curious.
Goes to the general fund.
yeah.
It goes into,
Yes,
so
they
they'll
all
sell
go to
them on
the-
an auction?
Yes.
And, oh, okay.
Actually,
Just
they're-
be paid to be removed.
yeah, what's happening
Municipal
is
garage.
they're
Right.
actually being scrapped.
Some of them?
Yeah,
Wow.
well, most of them are being scrapped because they've already seen the end of life with parts and everything else like that. So
We
the
got our
cars by
money's
the
worth out
hour.
of our vehicles with this town.
Yeah, good.
Some of them are impounds too, that have been around for years
Right,
and
and
years,
nobody's
so
claimed them.
they're being sold for scrap.
Good. Okay, yes.
Okay, Resolution 261 is adopted. Resolution 262.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Celtic Quest, Inc. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 263.
Approves non-pro-tunc license agreement with Suffolk County Council of Boy Scouts of America to utilize runway at EPCAL. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 264.
Ratifies authorization for supervisor to execute an agreement with BLD Architecture for new town hall renovations. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes, very exciting. Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 265.
Ratifies the authorization for the supervisor to sign a consultant professional services agreement with Janice Shearer. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 266.
Yes.
Authorize supervisor to sign license agreement with Long Island Lighting Company, DBA LIPA, through its manager PESG Long Island LLC. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 267.
Resolution authorizing legal actions against the owners, tenants, and occupants of premises located at 5 Sunnyline Drive, Calverton, New York. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 268.
Schedules public hearing for the special permit application for 533 East Main Street, Suffolk County Tax, map number 600-129-5-1. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please. Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 269.
guessing it's my money, man. Schedules
Yeah.
public hearing for the special permit application for 75 East Main Street, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-128-6-77. So moved.
Second.
Vote please. Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 270.
Adopts a local law amending Chapter 205 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 271.
Adopts a local law amending Chapter 297 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Zero Tolerance Zones. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please. Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 272.
Adopts a local law amending Chapter 247 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Loitering. So moved.
Seconded.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Chief, is the chief around?
Guys in the
Back row, left.
Did you want to make any comments on this? This is
The loitering.
The public conduct on
Loitering.
for loitering?
Downtown, the overlay.
He said
He's passed.
he's good.
Okay. Okay.
So you have to vote.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Resolution adopted. Resolution 273.
Adopts a local law to amend Chapter 301, Attachment 3, to add notations for Tier 2 battery energy storage systems. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 274.
Adopts a local law to amend Chapter 301, Attachment 2, to add notations for Tier 2 battery energy storage systems. So moved.
Can I get a
Seconded.
second? Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 275.
Adopts a local law to amend to Chapter 301, Part 3, Supplementary Regulations to include Article LIID, Battery Energy Storage Systems. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Kern.
Yes.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hubbard.
I just want to take a couple seconds here to speak in regards to the BESS system. First of all, I want to thank the public for all their information, for their concerns, both yays and nays. I will tell you they have been both. We talked about, when I requested this to be tabled a while back, it was because it was an outcry from the public to want it addressed through the comp plan. Well, it has been addressed through the comp plan. As I asked Sarah last week at the work session, she indicated that there would be nothing different coming out of the battery energy storage systems when the comp plan is completed. As a matter of fact, it might even be a little bit less than what was worked on both by Matt Charters from our planning department and NYSERDA information that we gathered, information we gathered from many people that came up to the podium. This is a new wave green energy type of system that is becoming more and more popular. Everybody refers to fire and everything else. There's been one fire. It was in Arizona. It was a different system. If anything, New York State has the most stringent laws regarding the BESS systems, and they have learned a lot from both that fire in Arizona on a different type system, but New York's rules and regs for maintaining and overseeing these systems is second to none. I will not, as you know, by passing this, it doesn't mean they can just go anywhere. The concern is that, number one, for our volunteer fire department, that they have the proper training before any system goes in. That's going to be a requirement by the town board for any system or any company that comes in here, that they're going to foot the bill for the training. They're going to foot the bill for any equipment that our firefighters may require that they don't already have. And that by town board having the option or having the authority to only grant these on special permit, those are going to be qualifications that are going to be required for this. There is concern about APZ and RA 80 as to whether or not these should or should not be allowed in. Again, town board is going to have the ability through a special permit to decide whether they should or whether they shouldn't, depending on the location, whether it's APZ, RA 80, Industrial A, B, or C. BFJ has, in my mind, thoroughly examined this. I'm satisfied with the answers they gave us. The public asked for this, we did it. We waylaid this. There is no rush, as everybody thinks is this rush. It started a couple years back, so there is no rush. There's also, we talk about all these things, and at the end of the day, there's a saturation point for these systems. It's not like we're gonna have 40 of these systems in the town of Riverhead. It just doesn't work that way. There's no need for it. So the limitations as to the number of systems that actually could or would come into town, there's only so much energy they can capture, hold on to, and then resell. And the more battery energy systems that come in, the less demand there is going to be for another system or another company to come in, because it lowers the price of the energy that they're going to sell. So we're not going to get inundated with BESS systems, as some people seem to think is going to happen. And I'm very satisfied that the state of New York and through NYSERDA, they have addressed this very well in my mind. The last thing I want to have is any type of catastrophe, but I was thinking about this morning. It's almost no different than having a gas station. You've got thousands and thousands of gasoline underneath the ground that anything could go bad. It could leak. It could leak into the water. It could explode. There could be a fire. But these are all things that we can't, and thank God they don't happen that often or very rarely, and it's even less with the BESS systems. So this is a new age type of energy that's going to help the community, and I feel very comfortable with that. We've researched this up and down the board, and people just, one other thing I wanted to address. It was brought to my attention that NYSERDA is doing a white page or a white letter regarding the BESS systems coming up, and my understanding is there was concern that we should have waited for that to come out towards the end of April. But my understanding is that that's only going to be things that are supportive of BESS systems. There's no findings coming out that are negative or going to go against the BESS systems. They fully support the BESS systems, and that's why I chose to vote yes for the battery energy storage systems. And I vote yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Aguilar, that was a
Yeah,
yes.
and I just wanted to add to that, that's a white paper, which is really a research paper, where experts, people who are called subject matter experts, get together and they write something in the field, and they just put it out there to get input, but most of the time, that white paper becomes a part of research. It gets accepted, and I know that Tim mentioned it to me, and I was, and we discussed the white paper, and it was determined today that it was just in support. It was an additional, additional research to the legislation. So, in the beginning, I was a little concerned. I know the residents were deeply, deeply concerned. Again, we've had 2 public hearings. We've had comments, and we've gotten emails, and talking to the planners. We had the state here who created the legislation, so I'm very satisfied. And then we had lastly the people who are completing our update to the comprehensive plan, inform us and consult with us. So I'm very confident that this should be a yes. And I vote yes.
Okay, Resolution 275 is adopted. Resolution 276.
Pays bills. So moved.
That's your favorite.
How come Frank always says pay
Yeah,
bills?
I know.
What's up?
That's all I'm capable of.
You spend the most money out of everybody here. Just letting that.
Can I
I'll
just
second
make
it,
one
though.
comment on the, yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
You gotta
go ahead.
vote.
Go ahead.
We have a vote
Are
here.
we ready for the vote?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, Curran,
Yes.
Rothwell,
Yes.
Dayrod,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
I'd just like to make one comment to people. When battery storage, when it first came to me, I really didn't know what it was. I didn't. After researching it for months and months and months, and speaking with people in the state, looking across the country, and the reason why I called NYSERDA to get an expert down here was to educate the public the same way I was educated, period. There's no way this is a rush. I mean, that's just, and I understand when new technology comes to Riverhead, it's new, right? We all need to learn about it, and there's not anybody up here who's not willing to share the knowledge that they've gotten or from people who know what they're talking about to impart that knowledge to all of us. Just want to let you know that.
Bob, for me, the two best things was when you contacted NYSERDA and had them, have them send a representative down here and the person they sent. It was very helpful and informative, and I appreciate that. And I also wanted the work that, again, that Matt did and that
Yeah, Matt,
VFJ did.
absolutely.
Yeah,
with
kudos
all
to Matt.
this.
He was very helpful.
It really helped make this decision. So I appreciate all the work that was put into this.
I mean, B&L is working on this, they're doing their plan all throughout the state, and it's gonna, and it's already, Matt, how many are nationwide? About 100,000 batteries?
Yeah.
Already storage units set up?
Yeah, I believe so, and it's important to know, just like within the immediate vicinity, Southampton has adopted a similar law, Islip has adopted a similar law, Brookhaven has adopted a similar law. I know people have pointed to Southold, they're exploring a moratorium. It's a different municipality, but within our immediate small region, these things are happening. With it in similar legislation, it's a model code from NYSERDA that we built on and made more strict.
The timing worked out good for us. As Madam Supervisor mentioned earlier, Southold's not in the middle of a comp plan. We are.
We are.
And we were able to latch on to that and get the information we needed to make us feel more comfortable with this, so.
It's not public comment period.
Okay, we're gonna open up to public comments.
Claudia Bianco again. I have one more question. Is there anything written in the legislation or a pending agreement or something where the energy that's stored is sold and used only in the town of Riverhead and not sold?
I asked that,
Somewhere else?
Claudette, I asked that in the early days, and there's no guarantee. It's the same as solar.
Because it's a company that...
It's a company, right, and they're gonna sell it
Making
to
a
the
profit.
highest bidder at any given
Okay,
time.
that's what I thought.
So that's pretty much how it works.
And you know what?
Capitalism.
But the
I like that, I like that
benefit is,
idea, though. You're right.
the benefit is that we as residents will be able to tap in, that energy will be available to us.
Right.
In, say, summer months where we have brownouts or blackouts, that's really the basis for this.
Okay.
So we will have an advantage to having it here, but that doesn't necessarily come to Riverhead first.
Yeah, thank you.
And just so you know, people do this in their homes, right? You can buy these batteries, especially people that have
I
solar.
know my sister has it.
See, so you already know, right? They can sell it back during peak times
She
with what
does.
they're not using. So this is just a, from here to here.
It's just a larger
Yeah, exactly.
unit. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm gonna say almost good evening.
Good evening, Takwi Turchin, Greater Calverton Civic Association. I just had a rather quick question on the update of happenings with the transfer of the town hall to the new site on 2nd Avenue, or 2nd Street. What is the update? Do you anticipate, I think last I heard movement would begin in June, moving the departments over. Any update on that?
Just a quick update. We're going through the process now. We've been in and out of the building, right, to move some walls and determine where all the departments are going to go, what their needs are. And then I would say we're about 6 weeks away from starting that construction process. And hopefully within 2 weeks after that, we're going to start to orchestrate the move.
So it sounds like you're on target for June for a move beginning.
June, July, there is no,
You
it's
were
like
targeting
anything.
June as a movement month, so it sounds like that's what's happening.
Yeah, also two
Okay.
resolutions.
Sounds like.
Toki, you realize 2 weeks or 6 weeks in government time, or?
Yeah.
Enough said.
I just
Thank
have
you.
to say that because I'm always amazed in government how things
Yeah,
work or
it's
don't
forward
work.
and reverse.
That's the plan.
There were 2 resolutions in today to
Yes.
move that, to hire an architect so he could plug in all the information that was supplied from the engineers. And so that's gonna take a few weeks, and, it's not just pick up and go. There's also the infrastructure that has to go in for IT and security. So it's not an easy, it's not a quick and easy remove the furniture and we're ready to operate, but Toki, it's in the works and it's gonna happen very soon.
It's going very well.
It's going very well.
Bob won't allow anything else.
Yeah, we have a full committee, we have a committee of the two council members, which is Bob Kern, Tim Hubbard.
IT,
IT.
Chief.
The deputy chief,
legal,
legal, and deputy,
Deputy Devon.
Deputy Devin, that's interesting, deputy supervisor. So we have a comprehensive team that's working on it.
Tikva, just so you know, about Takwi, I'm sorry, probably, no, I'm sorry, hold it, Takwi, I think I got it.
I'm very sorry. I normally am very forgiving and lenient, but I've heard my name said 3 different times, and although they're not offensive, the name is Takwi. Thank you.
Takwi.
It doesn't mean I'm gonna remember it next time, I'm very sorry.
Takwi,
but,
you have a
I'll come
gr-
up with something different to address you that I won't forget.
It's 5 weeks just to move the fiber from Pulaski Street to Second Street. So anybody that wants to help, if you got a cherry picker, bring it on, we'll use the help.
We'll find place, we'll find a
We're out of here. And we're done, right? Did we close this?
No, we didn't close it yet.
You keep talking.
Keep talking.
Okay, sorry.
It's dinner time. I didn't get lunch.
I quit.
I'm not getting dinner.
I quit.
Barbara Blas, Jamesport. So while I was sitting in the audience, I did pull up the information on that substation in near Doctor's Path, and it is a proposed in-service date of 2029, and it is the only new substation that they have planned in this Phase 2 of their upgrade and distribution system.
Barbara, off the top of your head, do you know what these things cost? I heard it's upwards
That
of
was-
$20 million.
This one projected $22.9 million.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, in 2029? Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm just saying, so it is very possible that, we would see battery energy storage or something else in that vicinity, and that's all APC. That's the only purpose I bring it up.
LIPA can have dreams of where they want their substations, but it's up to the board to approve it. So that's the good.
Wish you luck on that.
Yeah.
Just because we're allowed to build roads, we don't build them all over Riverhead.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on.
All right, any other questions, comments, desires?
Motion to close.
Okay, everyone, this is going to conclude our resolutions today, and can I have a first and a second
So
to
moved.
go to close this town board meeting, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, everyone, please be safe.
He's not even sticking around for the vote to adjourn. He's in a
Thank you,
rush.
Bob.
Did we vote? Okay, all those.